Alright guys, welcome back to day 3 of the Dracakis Players Championships here at the APT Series at Southport Sharks. My name is Jordan Bromley, joined as always by Corey Van Jarsveld. How you going, Corey?
Good, Jordan. Glad to be back. It's been 2 huge days of the Dracakis Players Championships already. We decided that we were going to wrap it up a little bit early last night. Now, I say early, but really it was anything but. Very late finish for these guys, but we've given them some time to have a rest. They're coming back. They've got 39 big ones to play for. Now that they've had some time to freshen up, gather themselves, they're here ready to make the big decisions. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll be here until these guys wrap this up and we crown a players champion.
Yeah, we see we're down to 3 here with Sean with the chip lead at the moment, 1.8 mil. Will second with 1.4 and Fletcher with 1.1. Now with the blinds at 15.30, Sean's going to be leading with about 60 big blinds, so there's still quite a lot of play in this. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys navigate three-handed. Fletcher once again with the corporate marketing of the Bulls logo. Definitely think he wanted to bring that one back after the run good that he had last night, finding a one-outer with Jacks against Duncan's Kings to take the chip lead pretty early, 6-handed. Since then, though, Sean has been the one that's been making all the big moves. Will went on a bit of a tear towards the end of the night last night to be able to get his stack up to the 1.4 million mark. And now we're going to continue on. Fletcher opening the button with Jack 10-0. Will with 6-5 suited. Definitely a hand you're going to want to at least defend.
Yeah, this one's for sure a Sportelli confirmed defend. Just one more big blind.
Looks like his cash brain is helping him out here. He's going to find 3-bet with the 6-5 suited.
Yeah, he's going to defend it, and he's going to defend it valiantly.
Gets it through. Up to 1.5 mil. Good start for Will. And he's got the guns out today. Everybody needs to look out. I don't think it's even warm in there. I think it's like 16 degrees in the venue. He just wants to try and intimidate everyone.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you've got arms like Will has, it can be a pretty reasonable strategy.
Apparently, Adrian Sportelli taught Will that 3-bet. See, if you taught Will that 3-bet, he would have gotten jammed on and then called off. Back over to Sean now. Decides against the button open. Looks like Will finds the limp blind big blind. With the full big blind ante, having a limping strategy blind be blind is okay, and Fletcher's just going to check. So we're going to see a flop here. Oh, maybe not. Now we are seeing a flop. Open ender for Will, just queen high for Fletcher.
pretty reasonable chance this does get chopped up. But if one of these guys take a stab, that'll probably do the trick.
Yeah, we are chopping it at this point. I don't think Fletcher is going to get a stab through here on the turn with Will with his open ender. Doesn't try it. Off to a river. And that is a straight for Will.
No chops this time. Will going to love to get some chips in here. Fortunately for Fletcher, he has nada on this board. It'll be tough for him to lose any chips here.
Looks like Will is going to fire out an overbet. Looks like he's going to try and make it look like he's trying to buy this pot. Fletcher doesn't fall for it. Quick fold. Will has a bit of a laugh about it. Up to 1.5. Fletcher now below 1 million for the first time since we went 6-handed. As we see Duncan there in 7th, taking the $5,500 home, but it was at the expense of a 1-outer, the case jack in the window.
Yeah, it was a very, very nasty one. That was for the chip lead in the tournament at that stage. 1.2 million chip pot while 7-handed. At that point, it was the biggest pot in the tournament. And Jordan, has there been a bigger pot than that leading up to this point? Maybe only 1 or 2 maximum at this.
I don't think so. No, I don't think there's been anything close to that so far. There have been a few 600 to 700k pots. I know the pot that Yeeta busted in 4th was around 900k.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, that pot was the biggest one so far. As we see Fletcher raising up the King 4-0 from the small blind. Sean with 9-7-0. Gets a count of Fletcher's stack.
It is a big open, but Sean does have position. And remember, guys, it's 3-handed play at the moment, and that big blind ante does persist into 3-handed and heads-up play. So the blinds are pretty hefty. It's getting very expensive very quickly, and you've got to be mixing it up and playing a lot of hands.
Yeah, I don't think I would have found it a fan with 9-7-0 versus 3.5x. It's just a little bit too bad of a hand. Especially versus an open of that size, and he is going to see the bad news when he sees Fletcher c-bet this board. Fletcher's going to pick up some nice chips there, back up to 1.1 mil, and Sean now fallen down to 1.6. Quick shout out to Dale Patterson in the chat, cheering on Fletcher. Sportelli is talking nonsense once again. This is Travis T on Twitch. Sun must be out on the Gold Coast. Yeah, it's a fantastic day. Definitely a great day to come down and check out the poker as well. If you guys are interested in playing a tournament, the grind starts today. One of the fan favorites here at the APT series. Fletcher Smith as the GOAT is back. Welcome back. Shout out Dan, 4th place finisher in the Goliath. Easy game for Will. He reckons it's a shark versus 2 fish. I don't know about that. I don't know about that at all.
These guys have all been playing very well on this final table so far.
As we see Sean limps the King Jack O, keeping up those trap blind v blind limps. He limped Ace King earlier in this final table from the small blind. As we see him check it over to Will. So just going to check back. Another ace. Let's see if Phoebe can work her magic once again and put quads on the board like she did yesterday.
Yeah, that was a pretty special hand. 4 jacks and an ace on board to chop it up. See if she can do the repeat just now.
Yeah, it looks like Sean bets 1 big blind and Will's not going to do anything there with 4 high.
I'd love to rabbit hump that river one time.
Yeah. And Darren made a prediction yesterday that Fletcher versus Sean was going to be the heads-up battle. Reckons it's still looking good. Yeah, I think Will is going to have something to say about that, though. He's been playing very well over the last couple of days. He even has deck reads when he knows what's going to happen on the turn and river. Check raising the Jack 8-0 on the 10-5-4 and going running jacks to win a pot against Fletcher late last night.
Yeah, that was a very helpful pot on Will's campaign to become the champion.
Looks like Sean's going to open from the button here to 60k. Will with the defend from the small with Queen Jack O. Fletcher looks like he definitely will come along as well with 5s. And he will, so we're going to go 3-way to a flop here, 180k in the middle. More actually, 210 in the middle. As we see, nothing for anybody. Fletcher's still ahead with an under pair. Sean does have the betting lead and Will with the gutter.
Any Broadway card will see Fletcher's fives really fade away. But I don't know that he's even going to make it to a turn. This bet could just get through from Sean. It is small enough that Will might decide to hang around.
Little over a third. Will did have some pretty interesting check raises yesterday. I wonder if this is a hand that he's going to try and use. No, looks like he's just going to come with a call. So we're going to see a turn here.
Yeah, the best hand gets out of the way.
And that's a pretty good turn for Queen Jack.
Yeah, that's huge for Will. Kills one off with a gut shot, drills it on the turn. Now has the nuts.
Has the check mark. He can't lose this hand. It's like Sean's got some thoughts on potentially continuing here. I think once Will calls the flop, this wouldn't be a bad turn to check back, but it looks like he is just going to barrel for 205,000. Bit of a half pot.
On the gas. Music to Will's ears at this point.
When Will calls, I don't know whether or not it's worthwhile trying to get value from a hand like 10-9. I think it's going to be more weighted towards like ace 6, ace 7 suited, ace 5 suited, stuff like that. But he does decide to go again.
But I wonder if Sean's maybe considering trying to get his opponent to fold a weak ace, as this hand doesn't really make sense as a value bet. So the question is, does he try to bluff?
And Will finds a raise, and I really don't think I like this raise at all. Like, you have the Queen of Clubs in your hand, so you're not really too worried about a backdoor flush coming in. You kind of just want to allow Sean to barrel off his ace-X and all of his bluffs. It kind of basically just lets Sean fold all of his bluffs straight away. He does take down the pot, but you have to wonder whether or not he may have been able to get more on future streets if Sean tripled off there. So I think Sean got off a bit lucky.
Yeah, potentially one more chamber loaded, ready for the river there, but we'll never find out for sure.
Yeah, people in Facebook are making the same point. Dan reckons why raise? Like, I reckon if you didn't have the Queen of Clubs, you could make a point for raising, but with the Queen of Clubs, you've just got the board so locked. See Fletcher continuing as mixing in limps blind. Queen 7 suited, Sean with 10-9. As Will has opened up a pretty sizable chip lead in this tournament. As we see top pair for Fletcher and middle pair for Sean. Neither player with a diamond.
It's hard to make a pair and hold them, and when we're three-handed, you don't just go folding them too easily.
And that's 2 pair now for Fletcher.
Huge turn here for Fletcher.
And given the way Sean has been playing, you have to wonder whether or not he would call another turn barrel. Fletcher doesn't really want to try. And top boat now for Sean. Second top boat, sorry.
And this actually makes it a little more likely that that 9 was good in the first place.
Yeah.
Not a good river at all for Sean.
Back. I mean, Sean does block a number of Fletcher's bluffs that may want to check turn, like 10-8, Jack 10, King 10. Diamonds do brick. Sean doesn't have a diamond in his hand. I wouldn't hate a bit of a polar size here from Fletcher, something maybe like 160, 170k. Because I think that if he checks it over to Sean, he's just going to check back. Yeah, it looks like he goes even bigger than that. It looks like he goes 1.5x pot. Gets a very quick call, yeah. Love the size there from Fletcher. Basically realizing that in this spot, he's only going to have very strong hands, boats, trips, or he's going to have all of the busted draws. Gets paid off very quickly. As we see that Will and Fletcher have both put a sizable gap on Sean, who's down 1 million chips already.
Yeah, pretty rough start here for Sean. But still got 1 million chips in front of him. Definitely too early to be counting him out. 30 plus big blinds. So a really hot start here for both Will and Fletcher.
Adrian makes a point regarding the raise from Sean, raise from Will against Sean, saying raise is fine of 2 pair. He's never folding, setting up a jam for the river. See, the thing is that Sean's never going to be folding 2 pair regardless. So you may as well just let him put the chips in. Like if he has a hand like ace 10, you don't really you can allow that to happen on the river regardless. Dan makes that point in the Facebook chat as well. So we see it go 3 ways once again. This time Sean with the best of it, flopping middle pair. Does have an overcard to his hand though. Checks through. Turns an ace, so Fletcher takes the lead here.
Turn. 3 hearts on board. No player in the hand has a heart.
Yeah.
Fletcher just going to play it safe.
Jack now makes the board a little bit scary, but still doesn't change anything. No player with a king. Will does have a 9, but so does Fletcher, so we can't really represent 9-8 too easily.
Imagine we'll just see this one check down and Fletcher will take the 210k chips in.
With the flush out there, 1 line at a Broadway, I wouldn't hate to see a check back here from Fletcher. And he does just turn it over and he's going to win the pot. As Will leans back and very subtly flexes. I see you, mate. Don't even pretend. As always, guys, let us know who you're rooting for. Let us know where you're tuning in from. There's still a number of tournaments to go in this APT series. As we said, we've got the grind today. We've still got flights of the main event, the Beast, on a Sunday. We're going to be bringing you guys coverage tomorrow of the grind, as well as the main event on Sunday. So definitely still quite a lot of coverage to go.
Also, I think we've still got the Vault on the schedule as well. The first flight of the Vault, 150,000 guaranteed to the winner. If you can pick a tournament to take down, it wouldn't be a bad one.
So we see Sean opening the ace-3 suited. Will with the king-jack suited. Looks like he's going to reach for a 3-bet. He raises it up to 180k, 185k. Sean decides against the peel, probably just a little bit too shallow to be able to realize with ace-3 suited. And Will's going to extend his chip lead up to 1.9 mil now. So there's been a very clear switch in dynamics from the start of this 3-handed play. Sean was the clear chip leader. He's since lost 1.2 million chips. And Will is in the lead now. We've got Kale tuning in from Brizzy. Paul tuning in from Wollongong. A lot of support here for Fletcher. Definitely the crowd favourite in the chats at the moment. These guys are playing for $39,000 up top, as well as that $12,000 Dracakis ring and a $1,250 entry to the Vault tournament. Looks like Will is going to find it's like a limp from the button here with the ace-3-0.
Interesting, changing things up a bit.
Yeah, with the chip lead, I wouldn't hate him just starting to open hands like these. Don't think you really want to be doing much limping. Shout out Artahar in the Twitch chat. William Wong for the win. Yep. Your boy's doing pretty well so far. And we're going to see a limped pot here.
Got a little bit for everyone.
Yeah, gutter for Sean. Top pair for Fletcher. Bottom pair for Will. Looks like he is just going to fire out one big.
Again, 3 hearts on board, but no player with one.
Yeah. Ari tuning in from New Zealand. Thanks for watching. As we see Fletcher just going to call. We're going to see a turn here. Doesn't change anything on the turn.
Will does pick up a gut shot, but still got those hearts on board. We do see a check. 4 repeats. That doesn't change anything at all.
Yeah, I think Will is just going to try and show this one down if it gets checked too. But maybe Fletcher is going to go thin, trying to get value from something like ace 4. Oh, sorry, ace 3 or ace 5. Looks like he is going to put a bet out there of 70k. And it looks like Will is considering flicking it in, and he does, and he's going to see the bad news. Probably thinks that Fletcher's going to have a lot of single heart hands when he limps from the small blind as well. Probably doesn't expect him to have too much strong King X. Sees the bad news, as we see that so far Sean has been the most active.
Yeah, it's not been working out for him so far. But still plenty of time. It's a long structure. Everyone's reasonably deep.
So you see, once again, we've got the crowd favourite dealer, Phoebe. Yesterday we saw her deal quads on the board, and then she put an ace on the river just to make it a clean chop, really easy for both Simon and Will to be able to chop the hand up. She decided that she wanted to play a hand as well, so made it very easy for everybody. As we see, Sean continues his limping blind be blind strategy, but I think this is the first time that Will is going to find a raise against the limp. Yeah, and then now you reckon that Sean and Fletcher are slightly better than Will? Look at all the time wasted at the gym. I mean, you make a good point with that, but Will does have the chip bleed, so your point's kind of irrelevant. As we see, Will flops trips here and has the better diamond. He's just got this board on lock. Quads.
Yeah, speaking of lock, and speaking
Phoebe.
of quads.
Phoebe just keeps putting quads out there. She just wants everybody to make quads. A queen on the river here would be a disaster for Sean. Don't know if we're ever going to see a river here, though, Sean. Will does bet one big blind.
It's not actually that far-fetched to think that there's a possibility that Queen High could be ahead here.
Oh,
Will
no, the Queen River.
Jeez.
That's
well,
brutal.
You would definitely think a Queen is good now.
Oh, that's a brutal run out for Sean. What are you doing, Phoebe? That's not fair. It looks like it's going to find the donk. Or the lead, sorry. He is going to lead. This will be for roughly a third pot, 95k.
Yeah, and that price is going to go up.
And what does Will do here? Does Will find the jam, or does he find a non-all-in size, do you think?
Jam seems probably unnecessary. It's hard for him to put Sean on a hand quite as strong as he has.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate to see something like 250k. The backdoor flush does get there, and on a board with trips on it, it's kind of irrelevant.
Looks like about 350.
Yeah, it looks like he's gone about 380k, so he's gone 4x. And Sean just can't really believe it. This is a bit of a sick one.
Yeah, Sean's really had a rough time on this this final table today.
Yeah.
A lot of things going Sean's way yesterday, but the deck seems to have different ideas this morning.
Yeah, this is pretty brutal. I mean, when Will raises, he definitely has... I mean, it's difficult to give him King X, given that there's 3 out there already. But he has to feel like he's chopping probably at best in this scenario.
Yeah, Will could definitely make this raise with a queen.
You have to think that with Will's weaker boats, like 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, even ace highs, they probably just call the river bet finding a raise. Getting led into on the river like this isn't very bluff heavy. It's a pretty gross spot. Sean's won an event at the APT recently, winning the Goliath in Sydney, so he's definitely knows what he's doing in spots like this, but it looks like he's really in the blender. He's probably trying to think back to other hands that he's played with Will over the last few days to see whether or not Will has done something like this as a bluff. Because if that's weighing on his mind, maybe he's going to be more inclined to put the chips in.
Really brutal spot here.
Now, you guys may notice that there is no shot clock in play. That was exclusive to the Goliath event. These guys have all the time they want to make this decision. They're not going to be restricted by 30 seconds with a minute time extensions. Sean can't quite believe it. Oh, he makes a good fold.
Yeah, that's a great fold by Sean. He's kept himself alive in this tournament. That was going to be a big hit if he made that call and lost. He manages to hold on to 20 big blinds.
Ben's asking regarding the adjusting the camera lens for filming to account for Will's lucky charms, aka massive arms. Yeah, you'll notice that the lens is a lot wider today. We weren't going to be able to fit them in unless we adjusted that. So thank you for noticing. And yeah, that was a fantastic fold from Sean. Recognized that he probably just isn't going to be good very often, especially in this type of line. Looks like he is going to find a raise here. Opening the button to 60k. Fletcher with the 940. I don't think he's going to want to defend there. Fellow Deed reckons that he's out there or very short. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I fold that spot. Pretty tough one.
That's a very tough spot.
Sean probably just decided that Will probably just calls on the river with hands like 8s, 9s, 10s.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty be a pretty ambitious spot to bluff as well. It's hard to really think of a natural combo to turn into a bluff.
Consider shouting out Fletcher. And there's a lot of fans of Fletcher in the chat. To the extent we've actually got a guy in the Twitch chat that says Fletcher Smith is the GOAT.
Yeah, there's a very clear fan favorite.
Yeah, we're just working on that freeze, guys. Thank you for being patient with that. You see Will opening the Queen 10. Fletcher with a dominating flush draw. Looks like he flicked in the call. Over on Sean now with the Jack 5-0. Bit too wide, doesn't decide on a defend. So we're going to go heads up between the two chip leaders, first and second. Will with the lead at the moment. As we see, a couple of hearts.
This is dangerous.
That is very dangerous.
Yeah, the ace of hearts being out there as well. So if a heart does hit the board, we have nuts versus second nuts. Will thinks he wants to see a heart, but in this case, he really does not.
Really doesn't. Fletcher with the call. Off to a turn. 280 in the middle. 9 on the turn doesn't change anything. Fletcher still ahead with the king high and the better flush draw, but Will with the betting lead. Wouldn't be surprised to see Will check this one back, and he does. Looks like we're off to a river, which is a king, so no heart anywhere. Safety for Will, but Fletcher does river a pair.
Yeah, Will at this point has no idea how close he just came to being crippled.
And I think when the turn goes check, check, I think Fletcher can be pretty confident in betting this king for value. And looks like that's what he's going to do. Looks like he's going to bet like a 7th pot, betting 45k, and a very quick fold from Will, not falling for that. So we see that Will and Fletcher are very close in chips now, just 100k separating them. Sean now short stack with just 20 big blinds. Fellow Deed reckons an Oi comeback is on the way. I have to wait and see.
20 bigs, it's definitely a possibility.
20 bigs is definitely something you can spin back from. And we saw Cooper yesterday have 14 bigs and come back and win the Goliath. So see Fletcher with kings and Sean with ace-8 going to put it in. That ain't a hand you want to see. As Sean is going to be all in and at risk here. Needs to find one of 3 aces. One of 3 aces, or we were going to be going heads up here. No love just yet. 3 on the turn doesn't change anything. An ace and an ace only. And that won't be it. So we're going to lose Sean in 3rd position. And just like that, we are heads up here. Fletcher and Will. Fletcher with a slight chip lead, but we are finally down to 2 in this event. Started with 109. 2 players left. Will Wong and Fletcher Smith. GG's in the chat for Sean, guys. Came to this table as the chip leader.
Rough day in the office for Sean. Came in with just shy of 2 million chips and just really didn't have anything at all go his way. He's going to be hitting the rail in 3rd place. So shade over $17,000 for his efforts. Not a bad consolation prize. We do move to heads up. 25k each locked up for these guys. Another 14,000 to play for. Plus, of course, that vault ticket and the Dracakis Jewelers ring.
Now, guys, from what I understand, there's going to be a brief break here. The players are going to have a quick discussion regarding a potential deal. When they come back, we'll let you know if there was any deal made. Looks like they're just going to quickly step away from the table. So we're just going to let them chat for a couple of minutes, and when they come back, we'll let you know if there has been a deal made. But for now, just hang out. We won't be going anywhere. Just feel free to send messages or questions or anything in the Twitch chat and Facebook chat. We'll do our best to answer them, whilst they're just having a quick discussion regarding the money that's left in this prize pool. And I'd love to be in the position to be able to make a deal heads up.
Yeah, it's a pretty good spot to be, especially when it's a deal between 25 and 39,000.
Yeah, I don't think there was a deal made yesterday in the Goliath. So this is officially the first stream deal this series. It's not uncommon. Don't know whether or not these guys are discussing straight chop or ICM chop or Chippy V. Just gonna have to see how it kind of plays out. David asking if I could make deal. That's funny. That's funny, David. I just buy insurance and get wrecked. The same thing that happens for me every day. Yeah, as it turns out, I can't make deals in cash, but somebody made a deal with the dealer that I'm just going to get riveted and destroyed in every single pot I play. It's great. It's just a lot of fun.
It doesn't sound like a good deal at all.
Oh, no. No, it's terrible. Yeah, I think the deal is that the guys that I'm playing against get my money and I get to cry. So,
good deal for someone, I guess.
Yeah. So it looks like these guys are coming back to the table. Now, from what I understand, there has been a deal made. So the deal that was made between these guys is that they're going to play for, they're going to lock up $29,000 each, and they're going to play for the remaining $6,000 and the ring and the vault entry. So 29,000 for both of these guys. 6K to play for, so roughly a 4 buy-in heads-up battle. And the winner will also take home the $12,000 Dracakis ring and the $1,250 entry to the Vault tournament. Now, if you guys aren't sure what we mean by the Vault tournament, that is a $1,250 entry tournament that's going to have flights across many of the APT series that are running. It's going to have a guaranteed $150,000 to first place. So definitely a tournament worth firing, and I'm pretty sure you've got a flight that happens tomorrow, I believe. So if you guys are interested in firing that, come down to the Southport Sharks in Southport in the Gold Coast. Give it a go. As we see Heads Up is going to commence here. Any predictions Heads Up, Corey?
Well, look, Will's been in incredible form so far this final table. So I feel like he's a pretty natural pick. We saw him as one of the short stacks when we were four-handed. And we saw it. He didn't really get a whole lot of options, a whole lot of opportunities throughout the final table yesterday, but he was able to make the most of what he got. And now we find him here at Heads Up. Hasn't quite got the chip lead, but there's not a huge gap between the two guys. In saying that, Fletcher's not going to make it easy for him at all.
Definitely not. And here we go. Will, ace-8 suited, opens it right up under the gun, from the button.
Technically correct.
Fletcher with the Jack 7-0. Sam, thanks for tuning in. There was a deal done, 29K for both these guys, and they're going to play for 6,000 and the ring and the vault entry. So $6,000 heads-up battle on the way. Fletcher about to meet his demise. Why make a deal? Will just giving 4K away. Yeah, I mean, Will does have a pretty good track record heads up. As we see the 10-5 deuce flop. Nothing for either player. Will's going to take down the first pot. Making himself up to 1.9 mil. We saw a very one-sided heads-up battle yesterday in the Goliath. Cooper just could not go wrong. See what happens here between these two.
Quite a lot of chips in play here as well. These guys being even in chips. Playing what, about 80 big blinds or something effective? Maybe slightly less. Just shy of 70 bigs effective, I think. But it is heads up, Jordan. Doesn't take a whole lot to get a whole lot of chips in heads up. A very pretty hand here for Will.
Doesn't connect with the flop, however. Still ahead for now. Backdoor flush draw. Fletcher with a backdoor straight draw and a diamond. Wouldn't hate to see Will peel one off here. Looks like that is what he's going to do.
Oh, this is bad news for Fletcher.
Queen for both players now.
It is only second pair, so things shouldn't go too crazy, but I'd be shocked to see Fletcher get away from this without losing at least one more bet.
Fletcher check back the turn. River card is an ace, so will stay in the lead.
And that might actually save Fletcher a couple of chips here. Will has checked it over to him.
Looks like Fletcher is going to bet. Looks like roughly a fifth pot, 30K.
Yeah, size up a very small value bet. He's going to lose perhaps the minimum there. Small pot going Will's way. Gets him up above the 2 million chip mark.
Ben reckons that Will is going to take this one down. Who's your pick heads up, Corey?
Yeah, I've got Will. But I think the majority of the chat seems to be in Fletcher's corner.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of support for Fletcher in the chat over the last couple of days, especially in the form of Fletcher Smith is the GOAT, who I believe is still here as well. I reckon we can probably pick his favorite. Guys, let us know Who do you think's taking this one down? We're down to 2. It's a 50-50. Our commentators' picks are, once again, nowhere to be seen. Seeing a lot of support coming in for Will now.
Going to be tough for
But,
Will. Fletcher waking up with aces.
Yeah, it seems the deck has picked a favourite as well, and that seems to be Fletcher at the moment.
It's going to open it up to 60k. Like Will's considering something spicy. It's going to be a really bad time for him to try it, though. Oh no, he's cutting it. He loves these offsuit jacks. He 3-bet the jack. He check raised the jack 8. Jack 9-0 this time. 70
And Fletcher
bigs
loves to
effective.
see this.
65 bigs effective. Fletcher's probably wondering whether or not he 4-bets here or whether or not he sets the trap.
What a great spot. You pick up the aces, heads up. Your opponent's just re-raised you.
Probably wondering whether or not to 4-bet. Looks like he is reaching for a 4-bet. It's going to make it 400k. I think this is the point where Will probably should just let this one go. This is the first 4-bet that Fletcher has made in quite a while, and he does just let it go. Fletcher going to get back to the start of this heads up with 2.5 mil. Will 1.8. Still quite a lot of play. 60 bigs for Will. Deep for a heads up.
Yeah, this definitely has the potential to go for some time. Now, of course, it's heads up, so it also has the potential to be over in 2 minutes. Very action-packed format. It's heads up.
Yeah, with the big blind ante, it changes quite a lot. Definitely going to be a little bit wider. Quite a lot of limping as well that can be done in this. Looks like Will isn't going to limp this though. He's going to open the 4-3 at a 65k. We go to a flop. 7-7 deuce doesn't hit either player. Both the
A whole lot of nothing.
draws. Will does have the betting lead. So if he bets here, he may be able to get it done, given there's no club on the board. Looks like he's going to try.
Fletcher considering maybe floating here. He has the only suit without a backdoor flush draw. Does have 2 overs, backdoor straight draw, and it's a board where it's really hard to have anything at all.
He may even try and raise to represent the 7. Looks like that's what he's doing.
I think your reader's on point, Jordan. He's going to bring it in for a raise. Will, with
40k.
the nut low, going to quickly give it up.
Nice aggressive play here from Fletcher. Gets it done. He was ahead, but he just wanted to make sure that he takes the pot down. Back up to 2.6 mil. Almost 100 bigs for him. Will slipping down to 1.7. And there are a lot of people in this chat that are admiring the view of Will's arms. Well, if you want to come down and see them in person, come down to Southport Sharks. There's plenty of more tournaments to be able to be played over the next couple of days. Got the grind starting today. Got a flight in the vault as well as the main event and the beast on the Sunday. Definitely worthwhile checking out tournaments that are happening down here, and you get to see Will's arms in person.
It's a win-win. Sure, we'll see Will in a couple more events throughout the week as well, especially after a nice top-up to the bankroll like he's going to secure today. At least 29,000 he's locked up after this deal.
Yeah, top up to the bankroll and a top up to his singlet collection. If you guys are just tuning in, these guys are both locked up 29K with a deal made, playing for $6,000 and the Dracakis ring, and also the $1,250 entry into the vault. That Dracakis ring valued at $12,000.
It's a very pretty ring, Jordan.
We see
They're
also
very sparkly.
Trophy just being placed between these two players once again, similar to what we saw for the Goliath. So we see Fletcher open. Looks like Will's coming with the defend.
Ben letting us know that all of Will's singlets were originally purchased as t-shirts.
Top pair here for Fletcher. Will does have a jack of diamonds.
Fletcher going to go for some value.
And Will with a float with the jack of diamonds. And he just knows that that's what the turn's going to be, I guess.
Will's really good at turning these jacks. He does make the top pair here. He's going to take the lead.
Yeah, finds the lead on the turn for 60K, a little under a third. Fletcher does have the gutter to go along with his middle pair. Definitely think we're going to at least be seeing a river here.
It's 10 still pretty likely to be the best hand as well. Hard to make a pair and hold them, especially heads up.
340K in the middle. The repeat deuce, the diamonds do get there. So Will fires again. 180K it looks like. 170K, sorry, so exactly half pot.
And Fletcher's got to work out what bluffs he can beat.
He blocks a hand like 8-9, which may have led the turn, turning a straight. Probably doesn't think that Will would lead any deuces on the river. It's basically just whether or not he would lead a hand like Jack 8 or Jack 9 on the turn. As we see, Will does have Jack 6. It's difficult to be able to put him on that, as it was just backdoor flush draw and straight draw on the flop. It's a very, very loose defend. And Fletcher gets away from it. Nice fold.
Yeah, Fletcher can save himself 170,000 chips there.
And hold on
Keep
to
himself
lead.
healthily in the lead. Yeah, that's it. 2.5 mil for Fletch, 1.8 for Will. Definitely still anyone's game.
With the Queen 7 suited. Doesn't get a defend from Fletcher, just folding the 10-5. Closing the gap a little bit, almost up to 2 mil. Fletcher with 4s, and Will again with a suited queen. Same queen 7 suited, different color though. A flop here. Oh, wow,
this
this
is
is a
bad
huge
moves
flop.
for Will.
There for Will, a set of 4s for Fletcher. Club out there as well. This could get expensive for Will. Looks like Fletcher continues with a bet of 35k, same as what he did before. Will's been pretty active with his check raises. Looks like he is going to find one here.
Definitely makes
Raising it up
sense with
to
top pair.
90k. 95k.
Will only 5% to win this hand.
Now Fletcher found the 4-bet earlier with aces. I would love to see just a call here. The board is so dry, you really want to let Will just barrel it off with his top pairs. And I think a free bet in this spot is definitely going to raise some alarm bells. Fletcher tends to agree, finds the call.
And of course, Fletcher also having the button is not going to have
King
to
doesn't.
risk Will slowing down.
Yeah, King's a bit of a bad card for Will. He thinks that Fletcher would float a hand like Ace King. He's just improved.
Yeah, this definitely could save Will some chips.
Will is
Not
going to
going to slow
fire
down
again.
just yet,
Half
though.
pot though. Looks like he's betting around 160k. 165. And once again, I think Fletcher should just call. Will doesn't have queens. Will doesn't have kings. They both 3-bet pre. So you kind of just want to allow him to triple off hands like deuces. Queen 10 suited. King Queen O that doesn't 3-bet as well. Continue setting the trap. Let him improve to 2 pairs on the river. Don't really need to worry about many hands like 5-3, I don't think. The only real combo that he'd probably be wanting to try and extract max from would be 5-3 of hearts. Does continue with a call. The biggest pot of heads up so far, and that's a pretty gross
Yeah,
river
this
for
is
Will.
Will's got a
That's
bit of
an
a
action killing
bailout. Bit of a
Yeah.
bailout run out for Will here. 2 overcards to his top pair coming off.
And Will definitely thinks about a hand that he played against Fletcher yesterday, where Fletcher floated with 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw, the backdoor nut flush draw. And this type of river connects very heavily with Fletcher's range. I don't think Fletcher is going to be able to get any more value here unless he goes for a super milky 10 or 15% sizing on this river.
Yeah, the other issue for Fletcher here is that 5-3 gets there too. So if Will's trying to come up with bluffs that Fletcher could call twice with and then bluff the river, there was no flopped flush draw. There was only a turned flush draw. And if it was ace high, it's now the best hand. The 5-3 on the flop has gotten there. So there's just the 6-5 straight draw that missed. There's not a whole lot that Will can actually beat now that we've made it to the river.
Yeah,
So he
Fletcher
may just
floated
be able
with
to
a
get away
hand
from
like
3.
Yeah, Fletcher floated with a hand like Ace-5 of hearts. That makes a pair on the river now. Looks like Fletcher is going to bet tiny. Bets less than a quarter pot. And Will's in a pretty gross spot. Looks like he is going to find the cycle. Assembles the chips in front of him. He really just needs to think this one through.
I really like this size here from Fletcher. I think this is designed specifically to target a hand exactly like what Will has. And it works out perfectly for him. He gets paid the max out of his set of 4s. Pretty unfortunate run out for Fletcher there in that he isn't able to win more, but he's able to make the best out of the situation. Will down below the 1.5 mark. 2-1 chip advantage for Fletcher now. Put himself in a great spot.
Yeah, I think Will definitely, even though the bet was so small, I don't really think that there are enough bluffs that you're going to be beating on the river there. You're basically just hoping that Fletcher has a hand like Queen 5 that he's going for thin value with, but I don't even think that he'll be doing that. There were definitely some runouts where Will could have lost more, but I have to wonder whether or not he needs to try and find the folds in spots like that.
Yeah, you can definitely argue for a fold on that river there. I mean, it's tough to fold flop top pair in heads-up poker, but sometimes the situation does present itself, and just maybe this is one of those.
Fletcher takes down a pot, heads up just there. Heads up, of course they're heads up, Jordan. Getting a raise through with the 10-8 suited. Diamonds for both these guys. Looks like Fletcher's going to open the Queen 9 suited. Blinds are up to 20-40. So Will has just over 30 bigs now, and he's going to find the call here. And Phoebe continues her prowess of being able to put ridiculous boards out there. 3 7s on the flop.
Yep, she's flopped us a jackpot. Fletcher going to go ahead and take a stab at this.
Would have preferred a larger size from Fletcher. Definitely has the overpair and nut card advantage. But does get a fold from Will, so Fletcher's going to extend his lead up to 3 million now. 1.8 the difference. 2.5 times Will's stack. Looks like Will's going to find the open here. Quick fold from Fletcher. No defense.
Offsuit 4 high, makes sense.
Yeah. First pot that Will's won in quite a while. Still definitely in it. 30 bigs is heaps.
Yeah, I mean, one double up and he's back in the driver's seat.
Yeah, definitely.
Two in a row for Will. Oh, wow. The 4 deuce again.
same 4 high twice in a row. There's nothing more annoying than playing heads up and not getting any hands.
Yeah, especially when you consider that a hand in heads up is 6-4 off.
Yeah. I didn't get one of the top 90% of the hands I can get. Damn, that's annoying. Oh, that happened again. Looks like Will is going to continue the aggression, finding a raise here once more. Fletcher with the Jack 4-0.
Could defend this one.
Top 90?
I think this is borderline.
Oh, he's reaching for bigger chip. He's going to find the 3-bet. Let's just get it straight through. Has a bit of a laugh to himself about the fact that he got it through with a very topical hand. The Jack 4 off. Absolutely robbing Will of that pot. Oh god.
Yeah, it's almost like he knew what Will had.
It's almost like you knew what Will had. Alright, it's official. That's probably the worst joke I've ever said on stream.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Jordan. You've come up with some pretty good stuff. Your pasta joke yesterday was fantastic. Sportelli was a huge fan of that one.
As we see a limp from Fletcher with the King 4 suited and a check from Will. Uh-oh. This could be dangerous for Will. Both players with clubs.
Oh boy. Will dodged one of these earlier. If he's not able to dodge this one, it's simply game over.
Yeah, Will is going to lead here. 50k. Fletcher with the King high flush draw. I have to wonder whether or not Fletcher is just going to raise and run it. No, he's just deciding on a call. A club would be a disaster for Will. It's not what happens. He does pick up a gutter. There was a spot earlier where both of these players had Queen 10 and King 7 of hearts, respectively. It bricked out on that scenario. Let's see what happens here.
Looked red.
Oh, Will does take the lead. 6 of hearts on the river, a very bright river.
Not the way he was planning on doing it, but I'm sure he'll take it.
Yeah, they have a bit of a laugh about the fact that it could have been all over there if a club fell. Very fortunate run out for Will. Managed to find one of 9 outs.
Yeah, that's 2 of those that he's dodged now as well. Not long ago, he was 1 heart away from being absolutely crippled. Here, 1 club would have seen the tournament wrapped up. But nevertheless, he's still in it. Still got a healthy stack. The runouts really do seem to have been in Will's favour so far today.
Yeah, there are a few scenarios where it could have just been over.
Yeah, his top pair versus set just a few moments ago could have been a disaster. Some other runouts, of course, the 2 flush draw versus flush draws could have been crippling. Fletcher's turn to catch the top pair.
Yeah, outflipping Will on this scenario. Check, check. It is a lip pot. Trips now. He is going to stab for 1 big blind. Don't think Will is going to be defending this at all. He does just take it down. 3 million once again. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and watching over the last couple of days. Coverage is going to be continuing today until we are down to a winner, and then we'll be back tomorrow for the grind, and then back on Sunday for the main event. We're going to be with you the whole way down to a winner in both of those events. Be a big few days. If you're just tuning in, we are heads up in the Dracakis Players Championship here. There was a deal made. $29,000 for both of these guys. They are playing for $6,000. That $12,000 Dracakis diamond ring, and also a $1,250 entry to the Vault tournament, which has a guaranteed $150,000 up top for first place. Both these players with a 5, though. Will dominating Fletcher. So he is going to raise the Queen 5, 80k. Fletcher took a similar hand to this as a 3-bet not moments ago with the Jack 4-0. Elects to call the Jack 5. Off to a flop we go. Ace 10-4. Nothing for either of these guys. Well, still ahead. Will still ahead, sorry, with Queen high. Have to think that a C-bet will just get this done. As we've had a quick freeze here, just working on fixing that one for you guys.
Sorry, team, just bear with us.
There we go.
Looks like we're good. Cool.
Looks like Will did C-bet and take that one down. It's been a good heads up so far. Fletcher has got the best of Will so far, but there's still quite a lot of play to go. Does have over 30 big blinds. Fletcher with the King Queen suited. He's going to put in the raise. Will with 10-5. Looks like he is going to defend. So off to a flop we go. Bit of a wide defend here from Will. And he knows why.
He's going to get instantly rewarded. Top
Fletcher
and bottom
does have 2 overs and a backdoor flush and straight draw. So definitely quite a lot of good turns for Fletcher. He has floated, actually, with a hand similar to this on a board like this versus a check raise. Looks like he will check back. 9 on the turn gives Fletcher a gut shot. I think he will definitely peel off a river if Will does bet. That's what happens. Will fires out what looks to be 100k. Half pot. Definitely think Fletcher is going to be calling this.
Fletcher going to be rooting for any paint on the river, but only the jack will actually see him win this hand. The rest will just cost him more.
No flush draw on board, full rainbow. Looks like he is going to call, so off the river we go. And that is a 4, so just king high for Fletcher. It's like Will is going to continue firing. Pretty meaty bet here. 285k. 260k, sorry. Fletcher's probably thinking whether or not Will would have a hand like Queen Jack or Jack 8. But I just think that just King High is not good enough here. He just needs to put this one in the bin. There's far too many 1 and 2 pair hands that Will is going to be betting like this. He's going to have 10-9. He's going to have 10-5 suited, 10-6 suited, 10-9-0. He could have even had 7-8 that drilled the straight on the turn.
But you're really giving this some thought.
Yeah, I really don't think that this is a hand that you want to be calling on the river here. There are just far too many hands and heads up that Will is going to have that are going to choose this size on the river.
It's also not completely far-fetched to imagine that Will could possibly have an ace high.
Wow, he calls King High?
Yeah, Will getting maximum value there.
Wow, that is a very, very thin call.
See a bit of a shake of the head there from Fletcher.
Yeah,
instantly regrets.
Fletcher just had Will on the ropes almost, had him at around 30 bigs. He just kind of gifted him a pot back. Very, very wide call down. And Fletcher's probably thinking that he may not have known that Will was defending as wide as 10-5-0. So if he knows that Will's defending 10-5-0, he probably is kicking himself about that call down. If he's got 10-5, he's definitely got all of the other combos here. Will decides to let Fletcher have a hand here. Doesn't opt for an open. Fletcher with 6s. Decent hand. Going to be a little bit disappointed not to see chips put in.
And look at that. VPIPs are identical between these two players. And Neil asking what can Will actually have that loses to King High. There's definitely a couple of hands, a couple of straight draws that missed. But like Jordan was saying before, there's just far too many 1 pair and 2 pair hands that also make a lot of sense.
And the difficulty is as well, having a queen, you block a lot of those bluffs as well. You block Queen 8, you block Queen Jack. And if he's got all of the offsuit combos that bet gutters on the turn and open enders on the turn, then all of those hands just kind of make sense as bluffs, but you block a lot of them. So anyway, Fletcher's going to march on. 2.5 now to 1.7. Will's clawed it back a little bit.
Yeah, Fletcher's still sitting with the chip lead at the moment, but it's a pretty small gap at this point. About 20 bigs is the difference between these two guys.
Now, you guys in the Facebook chat need to calm down a little bit. Please be nice to each other. It's all very good and well to chat about hands and stuff, but no animosity in the chat, please, guys. So you see Will open the Jack 9-0 to 80k. Fletcher with 8-7 suited. Definitely a hand he can consider 3-betting.
So we'll take a 3-bet in a similar spot before with the 6-5 of clubs. Fletcher
Jack 9 was a hand that Will chose as a 3-bet before when Fletcher did have aces. And looks like Fletcher puts out a 3-bet to 300k. It's a pretty big size. We'll get straight out of there. $2.6 now for Fletcher. These guys have made a deal. 29k locked up for both of them. They're playing for 6k. Jermaine asking if there's any live streams. I don't believe we've got any live streams planned after the conclusion of this, but we will be back tomorrow with coverage of the grind, and then we'll be back on Sunday with coverage of the main event. Clean Snap asking if this is real money. So the chips that are on the table are tournament chips, but these guys are playing for Australian money as part of the buy-ins. So even though these guys have got over $1 million in front of them, that's not real money. Everybody starts this tournament with 40k. There's 109 people that entered, and all of the chips that were a part of the tournament are left at these two guys' stack. Everybody paid $1,500 to enter this tournament, and both of these guys at the table have guaranteed themselves $29,000. Paul asking regarding coverage of the mini-main. I don't believe we'll be covering the mini-main. Is this real money? Almost. It's Australian money. Yeah, they're playing $29,000 dues. As we see a fan favourite from yesterday on the rail supporting Fletcher, Cooper shipped the Goliath for 67,500 in one of the most one-sided heads-up battles we've seen for a very long time.
It was quite a dominant performance from Cooper. I mean, he ran a couple of huge bluffs, took down some big pots that his opponent had pretty strong hands in. Managed to, off the back of that, induce some light calls when he had it. And yeah, just everything went Cooper's way. Very, very impressive and very fun to watch. Guys, just regarding streams for later today. So as Jordan said, I don't believe that we have further broadcasts today. However, plans do sometimes change. So make sure that you are following APT Live, and so that's over on Facebook, and following us LCA Poker on Twitch, so you can get notifications if we do decide that we want to bring you guys any further action this afternoon. There are some other exciting tournaments on. Plan at the moment isn't to broadcast them, but like I said, who knows? So yeah, make sure you're following, and if we come back in later on today, you'll know all about it.
As we see Will here with a tribute, opening the 10-deuce suited. Fletcher with a 3-bet of the King 3. Definitely pretty wide with his 3-bets. Will hasn't snap folded though. Wonder if he's up to something a little bit more nefarious.
Doesn't look like he's folding.
Oh wow, is he gonna put in a 4-bet here with the 10-deuce suited? This would be a very nice tribute. Looks like he's giving it quite a lot of thought. In they go. 4-bets the 10-deuce suited.
You gotta get there. You gotta have respect
for this.
Gets it
done. Shows it. Shows it one time.
Will gets the 4-bet through for Doyle.
And just
Fantastic.
like that, we are even. We are even. 2.2 mil, 2.1 mil. Will finds the 4-bet with the 10-deuce suited. Shows it. Has a laugh. He's feeling really comfy in this heads up.
Oh, that's a great one to see.
We saw Alex Linsky take the 4-bet with the 10-4 suited yesterday. What are these guys? What do these guys like about their suited 10s?
Saw Fletcher there getting dealt the offsuit 4 deuce once again.
Yeah, I think that's the 4th or 5th time so far on this heads up.
Sure has had enough of those.
Well, now with ace-8. Fletcher's been 3-betting hands like this quite a lot. I have to wonder whether or not he's going to do the same here. Looks like he is giving it some thought. Yep, reaching for the pink chips. Once again, 3-betting the queen 3-0. I think Will probably find a call in position here. He asked for a counter Fletcher's stack. Fletcher's been very active with his 3-bets, but I'm not sure whether or not that information has gotten to Will yet. Looks like Will is going to defend. So this is the first big 3-bet pot that we're going to see at this heads-up battle.
Quite a lot of chips in the middle here. Over 600,000.
And that is all Fletcher, top pair. Will may continue with a call if there is a bet, though.
Yeah, the question is the size. That looks pretty small. Might just be able to squeeze a little bit out of Will.
Yeah, I think ace high is definitely going to be. Oh, it's a third. Ace high may not continue for a third. I think it would for a quarter. Because Will doesn't really have any backdoor flush draws, and he does let it go. So Fletcher's going to pick that one up, back up to 2.5 mil. Glad to see you guys are being nice to each other in the Facebook chat. Fletcher here, opening it up. The 7-4-0, Will with kings.
Yeah, Will's turn to 3-bet. This time it's a real hand.
See what size he takes. Looks like he goes to, was it 225 or 325? 225. That's a very small 3-bet. Very small 3-bet.
It wasn't going to make a difference this time.
So it looks like we've got a new dealer today. We've seen Jacob deal, we've seen Phoebe deal, we saw Dom dealing yesterday, and now we are joined by Sheraton dealing.
We're very fortunate here at the APT on the Australian circuit. We've got so many talented dealers.
As we see Will raising it up to 80k. Fletcher with a call. So off to a flop we go. Sixes versus Queen 10.
Couple of real hands here.
Yeah, another player with a heart.
I've just got a graphical error on the flop as well.
So it is 9755, not 9975. So Fletcher's going to check and Will's going to fire out a bet and get it done. Yeah, Ben Sherry is an elite dealer. So these guys are being equally as aggressive as each other. Michael Teller's asking if they got the ring size right for Will. Ronaman George asking regarding the graphical error. Sometimes when the cards are being input by our system, sometimes they can mix up a little bit, but it happens very infrequently. I think that's the second one we've seen in the last 2 days, so it's a very rare thing. We've seen hundreds of hands. As you see Fletcher with the 9-6 suited, Will with King 9 though, dominating him. I would love to see, oh sorry, it's been a limp from Fletcher. So this is one of the hands that he's using as a limp. Will does raise it up to 100k.
Will does have his opponent dominated here. Both hands suited as well.
140k, sorry. Off to a flop we're going to go. 320 in the middle. 10-4-3 doesn't connect either player. Fletcher's the only one with a backdoor flush draw. Will still ahead with King High. Decides to check. Wouldn't hate to see a third bet here from Fletcher, maybe 100k. 105 maybe. It's like that's what he decides on. 85, a little bit smaller. Will decides against a call without the backdoor flush draw.
And again, a little bit momentum going back his way. Southport going the way of Will this time. See those chip counts. Pretty close. 500,000 chips is the difference. And represents 12.5 big blinds. Doesn't take a whole lot to have that shift the other way. Will playing about 45 bigs effective at the moment. Heads up. That can be as simple as a couple of big one pair hands. It's going to be no pair for either player on this flop. Will with just 4 high. Fletcher also. Nothing really of note. But he's the one betting and he's going to take it down.
This time it's Fletcher's turn to defend the 10-5-0. Going to flick it in. There's not much excitement been happening lately, and there's not really going to be much excitement on this board either. Misses both players. Quick check, check. Check once again to a river. Will does get there on the river, making a pair of sixes, and he's going to snap show it down and win the pot.
I was going to say he decides to bet. he'll take this down, but he decided to just river a pair instead. Equally effective.
Yeah, that works too. As we're pretty much where we started, guys. 1.9 million to 2.4 million. 40-minute blind levels, so the blinds will be going up relatively soon, I think. See Fletcher reaching for chips, going to raise it up. Oh, going to limp, sorry. Snap check from Will.
Pretty rubbish hand for Will. Both players catching their boots. One big blind from Fletcher. We're probably going to stick around for the one big. Significant underdog here. See, on this turn, he's only 7% to win.
Queen on the turn doesn't help either player. Fletcher's still very ahead.
Imagine we'll probably just see this one checked down from now. Players with a bit of showdown value. Three of hearts, front door flush draw comes in. Neither player with a heart. From Will, and Fletcher deciding whether just to show down his bottom pair. Will be the winner.
Looks like he will just show it down and take it down. Will opening the 10-9. No defense from Fletcher. Another one going Will's way.
Probably 4 deuce again.
Fletcher's turn to open. Will with a very quick call. Off to a flop we go. 10-5 suited this time. Will stays in the lead, flopping a pair of 5s. No clubs though. Nothing at the moment for Fletcher. He's got a lot of future hope. A couple of backdoor potentials.
Looks like he's going to try and take a stab at this, but it's not going to be getting the job done just yet. Now that's a fun turn card. Fletcher picking up a straight draw.
Yeah, it is a turn that he may continue on. And if he does, I think Will may fold. Given that he just has bottom pair, he doesn't have any other backup with this hand. Fletcher decides against it.
Yeah, I'm going to take a river.
Checks it over to Fletcher once again. And just a check back. So,
yeah,
brick on the river. Will's just going to take it down with bottom pair. Fletcher might be a little bit annoyed. If he barreled the turn, he probably gets it done. Will closing the gap.
Yeah, back to 2 million chips now. Absolute rubbish for Will there. He's just going to give that one up. Next hand.
Shout out Lauren in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Fletcher with sixes. I think Will's definitely going to defend the king deuce. So we're going to see a flop here. All diamonds. No diamonds for either player. Will does have bottom pair. Fletcher's still in the lead.
Yeah, another bottom pair here for Will, but this time it's not the best hand. Fletcher would probably be pretty happy to just take this down on the flop here. He does have the best hand, but it's extremely vulnerable.
Let's look in the call. Call gives him a gut shot.
Yeah, 2 gut shots, in fact. Not that he needs them, but will make him feel a touch better about his hand. Fletcher, no fear. He's going to go for another bet, and Will just going to give up the bottom pair.
He actually picked up a double cutter on the turn. I didn't realize. He's 7 or 3. He is going to extend his lead back out to 600k. Nothing really too major happening so far in this heads up. Will was down at 1.2 million at one point, but then Fletcher made a interesting hero with king high. Clean into Will's 2 pair. Fletcher going to defend the queen deuce. If we go to a flop,
Suited king 6 for Will. Nice looking hand heads up. Both players going to whiff here, though.
no spade for anybody either. Check, check.
King high still correct. Still in front.
You see Ben in the Facebook chat letting his intrusive thoughts run wild. Check, check once again. Another 10. Will is in the lead with king high. Fletcher has to assume that he's probably not going to be good with queen high. We've seen him take an overbet in a spot like this when he had value against Sean earlier. I wonder whether or not he's going to try something similar here, betting 225k maybe. Definitely giving it some thought.
That's a lot.
Wow, that's 4x
Yeah.
pot. Maybe it's a mil. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
I don't really think he needs to go that big. I think he can definitely get the job done with 250 to 275. We'll snap check back both streets. So going a million there is just a bit egregious, in my opinion. Like, sure, it gets the job done, but I don't really think you need to risk that much. I feel like these guys had the same hands before.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Fletcher's going to open, Will's going to 3-bet, and Fletcher's going to snap fold. Is this a replay? Yep. Literally the same thing that happened last time.
Yeah. We just didn't get to see if we'll use the same size.
Well, Will with tens, Fletcher with ace deuce o. We saw Octavian taking some interesting lines with the ace deuce o, and even Alex was 3-betting it a little bit. So that's exactly what Fletcher decides to do. 3-bets it up to 300k, and this is the first time that Will's had pretty good hand against a 3-bet of Fletcher. Last time he 4-bet the 10 deuce suited.
And this is Will's second big pocket pair in a row, and this time he's facing a 3-bet. These 10s are a premium hand in heads up. Sounds like Will's going to just move in. Fletcher won't be continuing with the ace deuce. Now, we remember Will was in a similar spot earlier, same stack sizes with the 10 deuce suited, and elected to go for a non-all-in 4-bet. It's interesting that he decides to just whack it in with the 10s. Maybe
this is actually the first time all heads up that Will is in the lead. And it looks like these guys are actually going to take a break off the back of that. So I think these guys are going to go for about a 15-minute break, and we are going to do the same thing. So get up, stretch your legs, grab something to eat, grab yourself a coffee. We're going to do the same. We'll be back in 15 minutes to continue this heads-up coverage. Thanks for tuning in.
Don't go too far, team. Talk to you soon.
Looks like we are back to it here, guys. Play going to continue heads up. As you can see, we've got a couple of blue chips out there now. So blinds are up to 25k, 50k. Hope you guys had a nice break. Continue on here. So both these guys are very much neck and neck. Average around 42 big blinds for both of them. Fletcher's going to open the king 10, and Will's going to defend the 10-4. So Will's dominated on this occasion. And that is a pretty big flop for Fletcher. A 9 would be a disaster for Will. Definitely doesn't want to see a 9 come down. Because we are definitely going to be seeing a turn here. Looks like Fletcher's reaching for a bet of roughly a quarter pot, 60k. Will may consider a check raise here, but I think a call is fine as well. That's what he decides on. Flicks out the call. Off to a turn we go. 6 of diamonds on the turn. Neither player with a diamond. May make it a little bit more difficult for Fletcher to extract value if a 9 does hit the river. Will with only 4 outs, as you can see in the top right of screen. 3 outs, sorry, in the top right of screen. But even if he hits one of those with Fletcher's aggression, I don't think it would really change the outcome. Fletcher does barrel, looks to be for 145k, and he gets it done. Nice pot there for Fletcher. Thanks for tuning in, Penguin. As always, guys, make sure to hit the follow button on APT Live's Facebook page and also to hit follow on our Twitch page at LCA Poker. We're going to be bringing coverage over the next few days for the grind and the main event. As we see Will opening the Jack 8-0 here. Fletcher's been 3-betting hands like King 3-0 and Queen 3-0. Wonder whether or not he's going to use this one as an option as well. Looks like he is reaching for pink chips. He's going to find a 3-bet up to 350k. With a Jack 8 offsuit. Does decide against a call. But you're going to extend it back up to the 2.4 million mark.
Come back just in time to see Fletcher retake the chip lead, it seems.
Yep, just in time. A little bit of a shorter break than we expected. It was only about 10 minutes. Blinds are at 25.50 now. So these guys are around the 40 big blind mark.
Definitely deep enough that these guys have room to maneuver and make some moves, but also heads up 40 big blinds. Doesn't take a whole lot. Will, really pretty hand here. Seems like Fletcher's really starting to lean towards that limping strategy a bit.
Fletcher going to call, so 400k in the middle now. Pretty chunky pot.
Wow, look at that.
Big one for Fletcher. Top pair open ender. Will double checking to see if he has a diamond. Sees the bad news.
Pretty miserable flop for King Queen.
Yeah, pretty average. Feels like a very clear bet for Fletcher, but he checks back.
Yeah.
The turn is an ace. It's a pretty interesting one. Definitely better for Will's range. Probably doesn't assume that Fletcher is going to limp call any ace-x. Does decide to just check though.
Yeah, definitely a turn card that Will could have started barreling on. It definitely wasn't going to work on this turn, and it's questionable what rivers he'd be able to get a second barrel through on, but that's not going to be necessary because Fletcher's let Will get there, and he really has here as well. This hand was a very clear bet on the flop. After being checked to on the turn, there's some arguments for Fletcher having a stab at this as well, but he's checked back twice, and Will's going to catch the queen on the river. That's going to give him the confidence to come out betting for value. He'll be pretty sure that he's got the winner here. Fletcher in a bit of a sticky situation now. Flopped top pair, heads up. No money has gone in, and now he has to consider folding. Small bet from Will too. Less than a third pot.
Yeah, I reckon if Fletcher didn't give away any info regarding the strength of his hand to Will there, he could have considered using this as a bluff. Getting raised to 600k in this spot would be absolutely disgusting for King Queen. As played, Will does take it down, back over 2 mil.
Yeah, props to Fletcher there for finding the fold on the river. It's really tough to actually find a bluff that takes this line. And even for such an attractive price, just over a 1/4 pot, Fletcher still manages to get away. Very easy to talk yourself into paying that one off.
William opening the ace-5-0, Fletcher with the defend with a 10-6. That's all Will though. Nothing even remotely close to appetizing for Fletcher on this flop. It's going to be a very easy c-bet and a fold from Fletcher. That is exactly what happens. Fletcher folding before Will even puts the bet out. These guys neck and neck once again. Will's taking the lead back. Beaver King asking if there were any deals. Yes, there was a deal made heads up here. Both these guys have confirmed themselves 29,000. And they're playing for $6,000. And that $12,000 Dracakis ring as well. As well as entry into the $1,250 Vault event. As we see a set here again for Fletcher. Just jack high for Will though. It's the third set that Fletcher's made in heads up.
Yeah, he wasn't able to make that set of fours against Will's top pair earlier. Will was fortunate enough to get a really scary looking run out and save himself some chips. This time he's fortunate enough to not have anything at all, manages to get away inexpensively. Chip stacks just about evened up.
Fletcher here deciding just to check back the 10-8-0. A little bit of limping been going on in this heads up. The full big blind ante makes it a lot more enticing. As we see, Fletcher still in the lead with just 10 high. No real life for either player in this board. Jack on the turn does give Fletcher an open-ender.
If he decides to turn this into a bet, take the aggressive route here with his open-ender, he will be taking this down on the turn here. And that's just what happens. Fires a big bet too, overbet on the turn. Wasn't going to take much, given Will's actual holding.
But you're going to open the Queen 9 here. Will with King 5 suited. A few different things he could do with this exact hand. Could definitely consider 3-betting it. Looks like that's what he's weighing up at the moment. Looks like he is going to put in a small 3-bet here up to 250k.
Cheap enough that
275k.
Fletcher could potentially consider making a call here, but it's a bit loose. Yeah, against the 2.75. Maybe just better to let it go. We're going to just about even up the score.
Joe asking about the Vault event. I believe that's going to be happening at the October series in Sydney. $150,000 guaranteed for first place in that event.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's at the back end of October. I do believe the Dracakis Jewelers are also supplying, I want to say it's a bracelet, a championship bracelet, to the winner of that event as well. We've seen the awesome work they do with the rings that they provide for our Dracakis Players Championship winners. The rings these guys take home along with their prize money and their trophy. These things are gorgeous.
So see, Will with the limp with the King 4-0. Fletcher raises the Queen 10. So Will is going to call. Off we go.
Will does technically have the best hand.
Still in the lead after that flop. Does flop bottom pair. King on the turn would be very interesting.
Fletcher with his overcard and backdoor straight draws is going to fire a continuation bet. It's not going to lose Will just yet, though.
Will definitely going to be calling this one. Neither player has a club in their hand, though. It's like Will actually raising here.
Very small check raise. Maybe doing this, trying to deny a little bit of equity, protect his pair of fours.
I think it's just a raise in position. I don't think that this is a check raise. Well, does have position in this hand. Fletcher now has a lot of things that he can do with this, and looks like one of those things is that he's going to 3-bet the flop.
This is very spicy. 3-bet to 450k. Now, this is the downside to check raising a hand like bottom pair. If it doesn't take the pot down right away, you now end up playing a bloated pot with a weak hand, and you've just got to play a guessing game. Will is ahead of all the bluffs and crushed by all the value hands. And Fletcher, the Queen High, is going to get it through.
Does fold.
Great question from Joe in the Facebook chat. Do you guys think they could build to a 10k main event like they did back in the Aussie Millions days? So I don't think the main event is ever going to be anything like that here at the Australian Poker Tour. It's a bit of a separate sort of target audience that we here at APT are targeting as opposed to the Aussie Millions. Now, that's not to say that there could never be a 10k buy-in event on the schedule. Earlier this week, we did have the 5k extreme high roller that Yeeta was able to take down. So who knows? There definitely could be things like a 10k high roller that find their way onto the series. However, the main event around that $600 price point, I think that fits in really well with the Australian poker scene. So hope that answers your question, Joe. It's a great one. Thank you for asking. And ladies and gentlemen, everyone watching, thank you for tuning in, as always. And if you yourself have any questions to ask, I'm Corey Van Jay, joined by Jordan Bromley, and we are here to help you out and answer any of the questions you may have.
Jumping back into the action, though. Looks like Fletcher opened the Jack 8 and Will defended the Queen 6. Will did flop the best of it. Check on the flop. Fletcher the only one with the club, but he doesn't decide to call. Will's going to take that one down. And just doubling down on the question regarding the vault earlier, first place will be receiving a $25,000 diamond bracelet courtesy of Nick at Dracakis Jewelers. Going to be added to the prize pool by the Australian Poker Tour. So definitely something to look out for in the future. Travis asking about the Academy games. At this stage, I don't think we will be streaming any of the mixed games. However, it's a great new addition to the Australian Poker Tour series. Going to have an entire section dedicated to the Mixed Game Academy crew. So the Vault is a tournament that's going to be run, the final days will be run in Sydney, but there are multiple flights that are going to be starting across different venues. The first flight is going to be happening tomorrow at part of this series at Southport. 40k start stack 40-minute blinds, and they're going to be playing 12 levels on day one. Jumping back to the action, though, Will opens the ace-4 from the button, and Fletcher's going to defend the queen 3 suited. Interesting flop for both these guys. Fletcher does flop bottom pair, as well as that backdoor flush draw. Will with a double gutter. Check on the flop.
Yeah, and Will could be best with ace high here as well. It's not the case this time, though. Fletcher out in the lead with a pair of threes. Jack on the river. It's another scare card for the 3, but it doesn't actually change anything. Not really thinking this one through. I wonder if he's considering maybe turning his hand into a bluff. This just looks like a blocker bet on the river, trying to maybe get to showdown for cheap. Thinking this through, definitely a possibility that ace high is the strongest holding here. We may elect to make the hero call.
Yeah, in a lot of these scenarios, Fletcher has been taking an overbet sizing as a bluff. Not on this time, though. Very thin bet with a 3. Gets the job done. Beaver King 11 in Twitch chat's asking how many runners there were in the 5K. There were 22 entries, $40,000 up top. Yeah, taking that one down.
So for Sportelli, just to clarify exactly how this vault is going to work. So the vault tournament is going to be primarily run at the Sydney series in October. So there will be multiple day 1 flights held at that series. Day 2 and the completion of that tournament will be held in Sydney. However, APT for players who are intending to participate in that vault tournament, the APT is also giving them the opportunity to play day 1 flights at some of the other tours. So for players in Brisbane and on the Gold Coast that intend to make the trip, they're able to play the day 1 flight here at the Southport Sharks this week to try and get a bag taken care of early. As Will takes in another small pot there. Fletcher has put a little bit of a gap between him and his opponent now, just over 1 million chips. Going for the steal with the 10-3 here. Slam dunk defend here. Fletcher with the Jack-9. Take a flop here. And that's a fun one.
Yeah, interesting one. Top pair for Will. Gutter for Fletcher with 1 over. Does go check. Fletcher picks up a pair, but Will is still in the lead.
Yeah, 4-liner to a straight on board now as well. That could slow things down.
So Fletcher is going to stab. Looks like a third, roughly 70k. Or 65k, a quarter, sorry. So I think Will is going anywhere with top pair. Sure, the 1-liner coming in is a bit annoying, but don't think he can ever be folding a 10 here. Looks like he tends to agree. Reaching for chips. Flicks him in. Off to a river. Repeats 6. So Fletcher bet 125k with a 3 in the previous hand. Looks like he's just going to check on this scenario though. And I'm not sure whether or not Will is going to want to go for thin value with his 10.
Like Will is going to find a bet here.
Looks like he's just going to bet a quarter.
Try and squeeze a little bit more value out of Fletcher. We see a bit of a frown on Fletcher's face here. As you can just beat a bluff. Now, if he doesn't think that Will ever takes just a 10 for value here, he might talk himself into a call. That's real quickly for Joe. That vault tournament will be a re-entry tournament. Fletcher really giving this some thought. But he does make the correct fold.
Yeah, I mean, he can't really beat much, and Will has a tendency to be able to bet these really tiny sizings on the river and entice people to pay him off with really light holdings. He did that before. Fletcher paid him off with ace high, and he had a low pair. Not in this occasion, though. Yeah, Crux is asking how seedy Cooper is on the rail. I'm not really sure whether or not he had a big night last night. I have to assume that he probably would have had a few celebratory drinks at least. So he's well enough today to get straight back on the rail and support his mate heads up. So that crew's definitely having a pretty good start to this series. So we see Fletcher open the button. Quick call from Will. Queens for Fletcher. And
wow.
What is with Phoebe? This is the fourth time.
Again.
This is the fourth time that she has dealt trips on the board. That is insane. If anybody needs a car fixed, I hear Phoebe's a really good mechanic. Definitely a joke, by the way. Fletcher with King 8. Probably going to call this open from Will. Not going to be one of the hands that he decides to 3-bet like he was earlier. I saw a flop. And that is Will. Fletcher with 1 over. 8 of clubs as well. Will decides to check back.
Oh, that's an interesting turn card. Both players with a club. Wills is the stronger of the two. Fletcher very unlikely to win this. He's got to catch an offsuit king to actually make the best hand.
Does just have 2 outs. So Fletcher is going to check it over to Will. Will hasn't really been doing much delay c-betting with his values, so it's going to be interesting to see how Fletcher kind of responds to this. It's one of the first times we've seen Will check back top pair on the flop. Fletcher is going to come along off to a river. That doesn't change anything. Will's still ahead with top pair. Wonder if Will is going to go for a similarly milky bet to the one that he made previously.
Yeah, I mean,
wonder if he's going to flick out like 130k or something.
Definitely justify going for some value here. Probably not going to get called by King High, but we did think that earlier. We're proved wrong once.
Well, it looks like he's going a little bit bigger. So we do have a quick freeze in the stream. And we've just fixed that one up for you. Yeah, we'll just bet a little over half pot, 300k. A noticeably different size to what he chose last time. And Fletcher has been a little bit sticky in spots like this. He's put the cape on a few times. And every single time he's been wrong.
This is another one of those spots where it's not crazy to think that Will could potentially be bluffing with a hand that's actually better than this King 8. And that's the case, you've got to be really careful about making hero calls.
Yeah, and if Fletcher does make the call here, Will is going to take the chip lead back. Which has happened a few times, and he's probably just thinking, what does Will check back on the flop? Like, if he doesn't think that Will is going to check top pair on the flop, then, like, what's the go? But the thing is that if Will's bluffing with a hand like Ace-6, he may not, but what are his bluffs here? Jack-9, Jack-8, you block Jack-8. 8-9, you block 8-9. 6-8, you block as well. Also have to wonder whether or not we will be limping these in this setup, given that Will's been doing a fair bit of limping so far. Again, it just doesn't seem like a very good combo to hero with. But Fletcher seems like he's got it in his head that he really wants to make one of these correctly. Part of an issue when you're counting out these heroes is that you tend to give your opponent more combos than they probably have. How often is Will going to give up? What if Will's doing this with a hand like King Jack with a club? You're just wrecking yourself.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a couple of spots where we thought Will should maybe follow through with a bluff.
I just don't think that you need to be making these calls. I think these are just very stationary hero calls that you probably just don't need to be making. You've been beating Will in all of the other pots so far, whittling him down to 1.1, 1.2 million, and then you just let him come straight back into it.
Yeah, I mean we've seen Will checking back some rivers with hands that we thought he should maybe bluff, hands that had no showdown value whatsoever. So we know that Will's definitely capable of just giving up some of those bluffs. And if all of the missed combos, all the potential bluffs aren't actually firing, then he's going to have even less combos than you think, which makes these hero calls just not perform very well, especially considering it wouldn't have shocked us to see Will show up with a hand like King Jack with a club, and then you end up losing to a bluff. So a bit of a misstep there from Fletcher, I think. Will back on top of the leaderboard. Not much of a lead, but it's a lead nonetheless. See if he's able to convert it this time and start to extend, put a bit of a gap between him and Fletcher. Fletcher Smith as the GOAT is back. Just in time to see it was probably a bit of a mistake from Fletcher, but he still has 2 million chips in front of him. If he is in fact the GOAT, that's more than enough to make this happen.
Yeah, and one thing that Fletcher has been doing after losing pots like this is he'll take offsuit combos like this one and use them as a 3-bet, pretty much trying to get the chips back. It's not going to work this time, though, as Will actually has a hand to be able to defend. Every time Will has just folded, and now he's got Ace-Jack. Don't think this is going to be ending well for Fletcher. I think we're going to see a pretty big pot here.
Yeah, we saw a spot similar to this before where Will defended with the Ace-8 against Fletcher's Queen-3 3-bet. It was a Queen-high flop that time, and if we have a similar looking flop this time, that's just going to be expensive for Fletcher. Looks like Will's going to go ahead and put the 4-bet in, though, so that's probably going to be the end of this.
And Fletcher snap folds, and you can tell that he's a bit tilted by that. Will's opening up a 1 mil advantage for the first time. He's got a sizable lead over Fletcher. It's been all Fletcher so far. Will's starting to open it up a bit.
At no point on this final table, apart from this heads-up battle, has Will been in the chip lead. It was Sean in control for the majority of yesterday until eventually Fletcher, after hitting a huge one-outer, managed to slide into the chip lead. And Will has just inched past Fletcher a couple of times in this heads-up, but now he has a real chip lead. See if he's able to do something with it.
Will again thinking about a 3-bet. Looks like he's decided against it. Just going to call the 8-3 suited. And he takes the lead. Top pair and middle. Top pair for Will, middle pair for Fletcher. Does decide to check back. 10 on the turn doesn't change anything. Will's still ahead. Going to be winning this one 90% of the time. Looks like he's going to fire out a bet. I think this will get called by Fletcher. Maybe he's got different plans in mind. Oh no, just flicking the call. 380 in the middle. That doesn't change anything.
Fletcher was the aggressor pre-flop, so this ace definitely could have hit him.
Yeah, Will might be a little bit scared of some ace-high floats. No, he's just going to check it back and take it down. So Will's lead is opening up quite a lot now. He's got twice as many chips as Fletcher does.
Yeah, all of a sudden at 2-1. Just shy of 30 big blinds now is Fletcher. Couple of decent starting hands could see this going pre.
Definitely getting to that point. Fletcher with less than 30 bigs. From what I understand, I've actually just heard that apparently Fletcher was heads up in a tournament yesterday as well. Forgive me if I'm wrong with that, but I think this is the second time he's been here in almost successive days. So
that's going to get tiring.
Yeah, and this is one of those hands that Fletcher was using as a 3-bet, and that's exactly what he's going to do again. Again, though, Will with a hand that he just won't be folding. For 25 bigs, Will may even just want to run it. No, he just defends. Off to a flop we go.
Definitely qualifies as a decent hand, so it could have gone in pre here, but also Will does have position. He's going to be able to take this post and see if he can make something happen. But Fletcher actually going to find the top pair here. 3 hearts on board, neither player with a heart. Looks like Fletcher's going to count out a continuation bet. Will not going to be liking this flop a whole lot.
Oh, that's a big bet. Is half pot on a monotone board. I don't like that really at all. Gets the job done though.
From Will.
Yeah, it seems like Fletcher just kind of goes for really aggressive sizings in spots like this, with just trying to win as many chips as he possibly can. A little bit of impatience. Gonna have to see how that kind of pans out though.
And it can be easy to get like that when you've been the chip leader the entire heads-up battle. Now all of a sudden, shoes on the other foot, you've been battling so hard. Just nothing seems to be happening. Now the other guy's in the lead. It can be a little bit can be a bit easy to sort of let yourself get a little bit impatient and really start to force matters. But it's important to stay patient and just play your best poker. Fun flop here. Open-ender for Will. Both of his pairs are also live. Fletcher has caught the bottom pair here to maintain the lead going to the flop.
A queen here would be pretty spicy.
Queen
Given the
here,
way
I
that
think, will
Fletcher has
seal the
played his
deal.
limp pots as well, I could see him considering a raise, but just decides on a call. Oh, it's paint.
That's paint.
It is a queen.
Jordan.
Oh no, this is huge.
This could be it.
This could be all over.
This Queen 4 is more than enough to be getting 30 big blinds in. Now, they are still quite deep here. 250k in the middle and still 1.6 million behind. I wouldn't expect all of the money to get in on the turn. It is a possibility, but I do think we'll be playing a river as well, and there are quite a few that will kill some action. Any 9, any jack, any diamond could slow things down. Things definitely looking good for Will here.
Fletcher betting 130k.
Yeah, half pot bet here from Fletcher. I imagine we're going to see the check raise here from Will.
He did check raise a straight before, got Sean to fold one of his bluffs in King 7. Wonder if he's changed his strategy and does just go with the check raise. Given the size that Fletcher chose in the previous hand when he had Queen 7, have to wonder what he's going to be doing here. Whether or not he's just going to try and fast play it. There are some really bad rivers that could kill action. Doesn't want to see a diamond, doesn't really want to see a king or a 9.
He's
It's like
going
he
to call
is just
here.
going to call.
I think Will maybe needed to size this up a bit to set up a river jam. As we see, there's 900 in the middle, only 1.3 million in there. He could conceivably go for the overbet jam on the river here, but touch bigger on the turn might have just sized up a slightly neater river jam. See how he decides to go about this. Overbet is going to put Fletcher in the bin.
I wouldn't hate an overbet jam. I'm blocking all of the 2-pair combos. It feels like one of the best hands to just jam with. Obviously, you have the nuts, but kind of gives Fletcher all of the 2-pair combos. And if he does, it'll put Fletcher in a disgusting spot. It's like he's reaching for chips.
Yeah, the only argument I can see against the overbet is that we just simply haven't seen it from Will. He goes for looks like about 650 or so and gets a snap call. I think he definitely could have gone a bit bigger, and a bigger bet on the turn. I think we'll see this tournament close out. If he sizes up to something like 450, 500, he has about a 1-to-1 pot size jam on the river.
Just like that, Fletcher down to 14 bigs.
Will a very demanding lead in this heads up now. What a turn card there, Jordan.
Yeah, that was spicy. There have been a few scenarios so far between these guys where there could be some carnage on specific turns. And that's the first time it's happened. There have been 2 or 3 times where both of these guys have had the same suited combos with flush draws on the flop and it hasn't gotten there. Unfortunately, this one not going Fletcher's way. Will does drill a straight. Fletcher with 14 bigs though.
There's definitely been a couple of spots where Fletcher's made some speculative calls and cost himself a bit, but and we see he gets the 4-deuce offsuit again. There's been a few of those. But no, the runouts on this during this heads up have definitely gone in the favor of Will. The potential cooler runouts will seem to have dodged all of those, like you said before, with those flush draw versus flush draws. Will was on the wrong end of all of those, and not only did he end up winning one of those pots, but he managed to fade both of the flush draws. One would have seen him busted, and one would have seen him crippled. He dodged those. He had the top pair versus bottom set, and he got the run out to save him chips there as well. And then in this most recent case, we see the run out giving him the straight on the turn and also improving his opponent to a 2-pair. Fletcher definitely been on the wrong end of the deck so far in this heads up, but he's still got 14 bigs. There's still time to make it happen. Yeah. MJ in the Twitch chat was on the same wavelength as me in that hand. This just goes raise and then jam river, but as I sort of touched on before, the sizing from Will was maybe a little bit small on the turn, didn't allow him to set up a pot-sized jam.
Well, all in call. King
And here we
6
go.
against the King Jack. Fletcher is at risk. We could have a winner here.
Will, about a 70% chance to have this over and done with. There is some chop outs there.
That's not one of them.
Definitely helpful.
That is though.
Oh, that is. Wow, look at that. Fletcher going to hang in there. Now,
Wow,
finally,
what a lucky river.
Finally, a
Pretty
run
good
out goes in the
fortune
way
there.
of Fletcher. Very close to being over and done with twice in the last few minutes. Nonetheless, we continue heads up. Fletcher still with 14 big blinds. He's definitely not given up.
Fletcher here looks like he's thinking it through once again. May have a hand worth ripping. Looks like he is just going to call and Will's going to check. Off to a flop we go. Nothing for either player. Fletcher the only one with a club. We're going to snap fold, so small pot there for Fletcher, taking him back over the 800k mark. He hasn't been this short since before we were 8-handed. He found a knockout of Duncan to take us 6-handed, and that set him into the chip lead. He's been over $1 million ever since then. Well, definitely in a commanding spot here.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about how the deck has helped Will out a little bit in this heads up, but we can't forget how much the deck helped out Fletcher in that Jack's first King against Duncan. One Jack folded pre-flop, the second Jack right there on the flop for him. Almost this exact flop.
So you see Will's the only one with the spade. Fletcher with middle pair. Don't think he's going to be folding just yet.
I was going to have to work a bit harder than that to take this one down.
Looks like he is going to check raise. He's been pretty active with these kinds of plays, and it works this time. Nice raise there from Fletcher.
Clawing back to that 20 big blind mark. Sub 20. Very easy to see the chips go in pre-heads up for sub 20 big blinds. Make sure you guys don't blink. And just there we see Will piling the chips in pre-flop, the A6 suited. Those are the kind of hands that it takes. Suited ace, the whole lot. Run it. Fletcher, unfortunately, not able to pick up anything worth going with this time.
The blinds are up now. So Fletcher even shorter than before, just over 12 bigs. Definitely a spinnable stack, though. We've seen people come back from less. I think Fletcher himself was even around that 12 to 15 big blind mark at one point on this final table. It's not over yet at all.
Yeah, not by any stretch. Sub 15, we are very likely to see a whole heap of chips go in the middle before the flop. Fletcher's able to find himself one double.
Fletcher not going to call. For a clubs game, not live. So APT reporting that apparently there have been over 250 entries already in the $250,000 guaranteed main event. Flight C does kick off tonight at 6 p.m. Obviously a dealer dealt tournament, definitely one of the best structured tournaments at this series. Recommend getting down to Southport Sharks and jumping in if you haven't yet already. And man, Fletcher's not really picking up any hands. He's trying to find spots to jam and he can't find any. Down to 11 bigs now.
Yeah, that's the headache with short stack heads up poker. That can be very action packed, but if you're the guy with the short stack and you're not picking up hands, those blinds are going to eat you up real quick. You are a little bit at the mercy of the deck here.
Looks like Will's going to find a call. He's going to jam the Jack 7-0. We're going to fold pretty quickly. Oh, Graham Putt is the chip leader of the main event with 350k. Let's go Putty. Absolute legend of the game.
Literally.
Playing with Putty is great. He just puts you in the bin over and over. All right, all in call. Eights versus the ace, 9.
That's a fair fight, Jordan.
For now, but it is a bit of a flip. Fletcher, 43% to find a double.
57% chance that this is all over.
And that is a 9. Will does pick up a gutter, though. No heart for either player. And a 10 river. It's going to be a full double for Fletcher, back up to 1.5 mil. We're going to keep going here.
Yep, not done just yet.
Fletcher Smith is the GOAT is going to be stoked in the Twitch chat. Full double for Fletcher, bringing him back over the 25 big blind mark. And we're going to keep going. Second opportunity, Will had to put this one away. No luck.
After that double up, Fletcher does find himself playing around about the 25 big blind mark. Still a couple of our reasonable hands. We could still just see the chips in pre-flop as well, but a little bit less the mercy of the deck now.
As it turns out, it was a very bad run out for Will. Fletch the GOAT, picking up a double. That's the worst thing I've ever said. Will with the 7-8 suited, going to open it up. Fletcher not going to defend. As the rails are starting to form on either side. Fletcher opening the ace-king. We're just going to call the 5-3. Off we go to a flop.
We have a real hand versus a piece of cheese here, and surprisingly, the real hand takes a big lead. 97% chance.
Yeah, Fletcher hasn't really done much trapping IP with hands like this, and it looks like he's going to continue that trend, just c-betting the ace-king. Picking himself up some very valuable chips, though. Yeah, Fletcher Smith, this is go. You've been around the last 2 days pretty much non-stop. Definitely up there. Thanks for tuning in. I think Bailey, is it? Thanks for tuning in, mate. Very active. So we see a couple of hands here. If the flops are connect with them in either way, they could be pretty spicy. If they both hit this board, it's going to be huge. It's almost what happens.
Both connected. Yeah.
Pair for both. And 8 would be very spicy. It's not what we get. Instead, we do get an open-ender for Will. Looks like Fletcher's going to bet at it. 115k. Quick call from Will, not going anywhere. 13 outs. The river doesn't help Will. It does give Fletcher 2 pair. So the comeback train is well and truly leaving the station. He's on his way. Decides to check. Makes a bit of a face when he realizes that he potentially missed out on some value there. So another pot going the way of Fletcher. He's got himself back up to 1.8 mil after having a little over 600 probably about 10 minutes ago.
It just takes one decent hand now, and Fletcher can swing this around, take that lead back. Gotta wonder how Will's composure would be. We notice Fletcher perhaps getting a little bit impatient once the chip started going heavily in the direction of Will. Managed to get that double up. He's had a couple of good pots go his way. He picked up some momentum. See if Will's able to keep his composure if that momentum does keep up. Couple of decent hands here.
Yeah, definitely a chance Will could 3-bet this one. Have to be a little bit worried about 3-betting hands like this at this stack depth though. Fletcher with just 30 big blinds. Looks like he is reaching for those 100k chips. He's going to put them to use. Looks like a raise up to 380. 375, sorry. Fletcher has taken some 4-bets as well. I wonder whether or not he's considering using this as one of those.
Giving it a lot of thought.
Yeah. Decides against it. So Will's going to take that one down. He may have had memories of the 10-2 suited in his mind, wondering whether or not this was a similar scenario.
A limp from Will.
Looks like Fletcher is going to end up putting a raise in here. Usually he would have checked by now. Does have a pretty
Makes a lot
good
of
hand.
sense.
And it goes. Gets it done pretty quickly. So you see Will, 700k in the lead. That's only 10 big blinds though, so these guys are pretty close. One big hand and one of these guys is going to be in very rough shape. It's either going to be all over. We're 10 big blind. Fletcher's asking what you usually have for brekkie. What do you have for brekkie, Corey?
I love me a good bacon and eggs, but a wheat bix will definitely do the trick in a pinch.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm on this whole health kick thing lately, so I've been having to deal with an egg white omelette most mornings. Been pretty tragic.
Yeah, that doesn't sound pleasant at all.
Yeah, as we see Fletcher with the ace deuce so, we're going to call the queen 5. Off we go to a flop. Bottom pair for Fletcher. Nothing really going for Will though. Does have a backdoor flush draw.
Backdoor straight draw as well, but it's a little bit ambitious.
We've seen him with some pretty spicy check raises so far.
Yeah,
Wonder if
this
he's going to
doesn't
use
actually.
this one.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a terrible candidate for it, but he's just going to float.
And
And
I guess he just
yeah,
always
that's
knows that he's going to turn equity when he floats.
yeah,
Does
quite the
turn a
turn
queen
card
high
for his
flush
hand.
draw. Last time he floated in a spot like this and turned something, granted it was top pair, he did lead into Fletcher. Decides against it this time.
Take
Check,
back from
check.
Fletcher. Could give Will the green light to go for a bluff on the river. He has
A
missed his
3 doesn't
club,
really
so he's stuck with
change
just queen
anything.
high.
Now this is a scenario Fletcher has made quite a few heroes with stuff like king high. This would be a pretty good opportunity for him to make another one. This time would be a very good time because he would actually be correct in this scenario. He's 0 for 2 with hero calls and looks like Will's going to put him to the test. And I really, really would love to see the hero from Ace Deuce here. He unblocks 9-8, 7-8, 9-7. Sure, 5-4 gets there, but given the way Will's been playing, you have to think that he may have played that as a check raise. Will's been floating quite a lot with hands like Jack 8. He's been floating with hands like the one that he's got. And Fletcher doesn't really give it too much thought. He does just fold. Will's going to pick that one up.
Went for the slight overbet there. Managed to do the trick. Fletcher has made a couple of hero calls at inopportune times, and now this is the hero call this time when Will actually does find the bluff.
Yeah, I mean, must be pretty good timing from Will. Gets that bluff through. Extends his lead back up to the 1.1 million mark. This time it's Will's turn to have the 4 do so. Just folds. So these guys are being pretty aggro with each other. There's been quite a lot of 3-betting, quite a lot of check raising. Definitely hasn't been a boring heads up.
And we saw a little bit earlier on one of our VPIP graphics, they were identical numbers and its aggression frequency almost identical as well.
Yeah, with the big blind ante, you're going to be playing quite a few hands, especially heads up, as we see Fletcher with a limp here. Will with 4s. The price of poker is probably going to increase here. Decides against it. Just see the King Jack 5 board. Will's still ahead, but he's got 3 overs to his pair. So Fletcher is just going to stab at it. Will's going to peel one off. See a turn. And that is a pretty good turn for Will. Bottom set.
Exactly what he was looking for. He was a little bit worried a moment ago, and now he's praying that Fletcher has a big hand.
Fletcher doesn't fall for it. Does just check back. Deuce of clubs doesn't really change anything. Fletcher does block 6-3 and ace-3. Looks like Will's reaching for pretty big chips here. Fires out an overbet. Fletcher not falling for it though, does just fold. Back up to 2.8 mil. 25 bigs for Fletcher. As we are marching on here. Heads up has been going quite a while at this point. I have to wonder how fatigued these guys are feeling. They've had a couple of days of play, this being day 3. He's going to flick in a call. Fletcher with Queen 10. Given how he's played so far, I think he definitely will want to raise this one.
And he's going to bump it up.
Yeah, Will not going to call this suited 8. Yeah, so we are getting some confirmation regarding Fletcher's results earlier this series. Apparently he's cashed for 2.1, 1.8, 9.5, and now this tournament. So he's already had an absolutely ridiculous series here at Southport. And he's at another final table, heads up, playing for a trophy. Or not just a trophy, but playing for a ring. As we are going to see a flop here.
Whiffs again. Backdoor straight draw for Fletcher, backdoor flush draw for Will. 2 overs for Will and just 1 for Fletcher, but the Queen High at the moment actually the best hand. Never mind. Will turning another jack at a very opportune moment. We're going to try and induce a bluff.
Fletcher not falling for it. King on the river. Fletcher doesn't want to even try it. I was going to take this one down. Doubling his lead once more. As we see a few familiar faces showing up in the background. Good friends of mine, Yida and Dave Sebesvi. Hello, boys. Will with the Queen 4 suited. Definitely going to be seeing a flop here.
Suited 10 for Fletcher can definitely be defending.
That he does. Off we go. No, just doesn't hit anybody though.
Pretty hard time hitting flops.
Yeah. Doing a very grindy heads up. Not much considerable action. 8 on the turn does give Fletcher a bunch of outs though. he bets here, he probably just wins the pot. Looks like that's what he's going to plan on doing. Reaching for an overbet again. He loves these overbets. Takes it down.
Will with just the queen high, not going to mess with that.
As this heads up battle continues. And it has been a battle. There's been multiple lead changes. At the moment, Will does have the best of it. Fletcher, though, with King 10-0, definitely going to be wanting to raise in this one. Looks like he just decides on a call, going to limp. Will does check the 9-8. We're going to see a flop here. Fletcher with the best of it, flopping top pair. Will checks it over to him. Wouldn't be surprised to see Fletcher betting one big blind. That's what he does. And Will has gotten a little out of line in boards like this, and he's going to find a peel. Turns an ace. Don't change anything. Will is dead on the turn now.
And Will's been blessed with some good turn cards when he's made these floats so far in this heads up, but this time is different. He's dead on the turn. There are some scare cards for Fletcher's 10. And he's got himself into a situation where he's on the river out of position with 9 high. He knows that he can't win by checking, and he is going to go for a bet. Fletcher could definitely snap this one off. We'll have to give it some thought. 2 overcards out there.
Yeah, he hasn't made a correct hero yet.
And you've got to wonder if that's weighing on his mind.
And he puts in the call and he's going to take this one down. He's going to level out the stacks quite a lot here.
Dean apparently, so either Dean or us are having some audio issues. If you guys can hear us right, just quickly let us know.
We're going to open the 10-3 suited. Fletcher will be defending the Jack 5. Sounds like the issue is on your end, Dean. Maybe just restart the stream. You might be able to hear us a bit clearer. So Fletcher is going to flick in the call. If we go. Interesting flop. Pair for both. No spades in anybody's hand. Will is going to bet 75k. As the crowd is starting to build around this table. Must be a break happening at the moment at the venue. Is chockers around this stream. Fletcher going to call. 4 doesn't change anything on the turn. Fletcher's still ahead with top pair.
Quick check.
And another 4 on the river also doesn't change anything. Fletcher's going to win this one with a jack.
And Fletcher's actually going to move back into the chip lead with this pot, or at least tie it up.
Looks like he is reaching. It's 1/4. Looks like Will's just going to flick it in. Going to see the bad news. And Fletcher has taken back the chip lead now.
I need you back to the area, please.
Alright, just double checking to see if you guys can hear the table audio. We've just made a couple of adjustments. I just don't know if you can hear stuff from the table. See Fletch with the King 4 suited, gonna find the call.
Fletcher's hand is suited, but he's also dominated at the moment. But never mind, he's going to catch his live card.
Fletcher's really battled back here. He was on the ropes and he's taking back the chip lead.
Very back and forth battle.
Well, he's going to c-bet. Fletcher has had a tendency to check raise these bottom pair type hands. Wonder whether or not he's going to do it here. Will is the only one with a diamond. Looks like he's going to continue just with a call. Nine on the turn doesn't change anything.
Just still well out in the lead.
Check, check. River Deuce doesn't change anything either, so Fletcher will win this hand unless Will bluffs him off it. Given the way this is played so far, I can't really see that happening.
Alrighty, all players coming back in for the absolute beach cards, the grind. Come and retake your seats, please.
So Fletcher might even consider trying to get value from ace high. That's what he does, bet that 1/4 pot size again. Same as what he did in the previous hand. Doesn't get a call though. Well, it does just find the fold. Fletcher has opened the gap again. This is the fifth, I think this is the 5th or 6th lead change we've had. Fletcher battling back from just 11 big blinds, back up to 2.4 mil. Very swingy heads up battle.
We're basically back to where we started. This is pretty much the scoreline at the beginning of this heads up battle. Fletcher with a slight lead. He's dropped very short and he's brought it all the way back.
Also just letting you guys know, APT live reporting that the grind has reached over the 100,000 mark in the prize pool. Late Rejo until the end of level 13 and 10 levels are played today. So you can register for 3 levels tomorrow. Head down to Southport Sharks and the Gold Coast and jump into that one, 1250 entry. One of the more prestigious tournaments here at the series.
Dean in the Facebook chat asking about that King 10, saying he thinks he's probably folding. I definitely wouldn't blame Fletcher for having folded in that spot. It's a bit of a scary run out. But at the end of the day, we're heads up. It's hard to make a pair. He's got the top kicker. It's a flopped top pair. So definitely can't blame him for going either way there. Fortunately for him, he was able to make the correct call this time. A couple of hero calls go astray, but that one successful. Just giving him the momentum to claw back the chip lead, start to extend it. We see another 4-2 here, this time suited. And 4-2 basically dead on this flop, which has caught a pair.
Interesting river. There's a 9 and a king make a straight. Have to think that one of them would have bet that on the turn though. Maybe not.
Alright, close with absolute prestige cards to grind. Your blinds are recommencing at 300, 600 with a 600 big blind ante. That's 300, 600 with a 600 big blind ante, please.
We've seen some overbets from these guys in spots like this before, but he decides against trying to give it a go. He's going to be shaking his head as that's like one of the only hands that Fletcher probably fold from this spot. Nice pot again for Fletcher, back over the 2.4 million mark. As you can see the payouts on the screen, but that is not actually what these guys have locked up. There was a deal made at the start of this heads up. Both players have guaranteed themselves $29,000, and this heads up battle is going to be for $6,000, the $12,000 Dracakis diamond ring, and also the $1,250 entry to the Vault tournament, which is going to have $150,000 guaranteed for first place. See Fletcher with the 9-3 suited, going to continue his limping strategy. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not he calls versus the definite squeeze that's coming here from Will. He's going to raise it up to around 205k. And Fletcher not going to defend. Take that one down.
Very close here. Less than 10 big blinds separate the two. Blinds have ticked up a few times since we began the heads up. I think we started heads up at 15k, 30k. These guys have been battling for quite some time.
Yeah, I thought.
These guys are getting even tighter in the chip stacks. Just over 30 bigs effective.
Basically an even game at this point.
Yeah, I went post flop.
Fletcher now on the button. Gonna raise it up. Looks like Will's got a bit of a decision here. So he's gonna call. Off to a flop we go. 300 in the middle. And Will with the gut shot. Fletcher's still ahead though, 10 high.
Hard for Fletcher to know that he's got the best hand here.
Yeah, given how these guys have been playing heads up so far, I wouldn't be surprised to see Will check raise this. He has been taking these draws somewhat aggressively. Just a quick call. It's not the turn that he was looking for. Still 10 high in the lead.
Let's check it once again.
It's an interesting combo for Fletcher. He unblocks both of the flush draws on the board. Whether or not he's going to barrel with this combo. Looks like that is his plan. Fires out a bit of 320k. Gets it done. Shows Cooper his hand.
And Fletcher starting to put a bit of a gap there once again.
Definitely extending it back up again. His turn to go on a bit of a run, it seems. These guys have definitely been battling now for quite some time. I think we're nearing our second hour of heads up. Forgive me, we're nearing our third hour of heads up. These guys have been going for quite a while.
Yeah, this has been quite a battle.
When they started, there was 65 big blinds effective. It's halved since then.
How much do you have in piece? 1.5. Thanks, mate.
Kayla in the Twitch chat asking if we've got stats on how many hands. So, see up in the top right, it says hand 217 there. Now, I do believe that's of the entire final table. So we'll include the play from yesterday as well.
Will with queens here. Is the shorter of the two. Looks like he's going to reach for chips. Every time one of these guys have had a big hand, the other person hasn't really had anything. It's been a pretty quick fold. Looks like that's the case here again.
Yeah, we've managed to pretty much avoid any of the cooler situations so far. It's been the one where Fletcher found himself with the 2 pair against Will straight, and he was fortunate enough to survive. But apart from that, most of the potential coolers seem not to have materialized.
Yeah, if Will check raise a little bit larger in that hand, this could be all over already.
Oh, for sure.
As played though, Fletcher has been able to take back the lead. So probably a pretty big misstep for Will in that hand. So you see Will find a raise here. Fletcher with the 9-4-0. Doesn't defend. Another pot going Will's way.
Closing that gap up again.
Fletcher with the Jack Deuce suited. He's going to keep limping. Well, does check the 7-6. Will gets the better of this one. Fletcher does have a backdoor flush draw though. One overcut. So Fletcher's going to stab at it.
Not going to work. Question is if Will decides to play this slow or if he decides to use this as a check raise.
It's a pretty interesting size. It's almost 2 bigs. He's going to get a call from Will though. Another 9 now, so...
Yep, Phoebe doing what she does best.
It's pretty interesting because I don't know if I've seen Fletcher have any limp traps yet. Most of his limps tend to be weaker kind of holdings. I haven't seen him limp a hand like an overpair or anything so far. And I wonder whether or not Will has caught onto that. It's going to be interesting moving forward in this hand. Looks like Fletcher decides against a barrel. Does just check back. And what is this?
Wow.
This is the second time in 2 days that Phoebe has dealt quads on the board.
Yeah, both of them Will was involved in. The first one, he kind of got bailed out a little bit. This one is actually unfortunate as his full house is going to be counterfeited. He's now playing quad nines with a 7 kicker. Fletcher with just that jack actually now has the best hand.
Then Fletcher's
deciding whether to bluff at it, but he doesn't actually need to.
It's a bit of a weird spot for Fletcher because a lot of the hands that Will would have called with on the flop, given it was a limped pot, probably would be behind Jack High. Hands like 10-7, 7-6, all of the 6x that called on the flop. I think he can literally just show this down, and that's what he decides to do. So yeah, nice check back from Fletcher on the river there. Doesn't really open the door for Will to do anything spicy, and he takes it down.
Yeah. Well, I was done with that anyway. Just figuring out until the river, and then I might have better spot. Too many bluffs.
Fletcher going to extend his lead once again, back up to that 2.5 million mark. We've got a couple of interesting hands here.
Yeah,
Jack
big
10,
hand Fletcher.
10.
Reasonable holding and heads up.
I don't think Will is going to be folding this to a 3-bet either, so this could get expensive. Fletcher does raise it up, 360. So Will is counting out his stack. Yep. Puts in the call. Off we go. 3-bet pot here. 780 in the middle. 2-to-1 SPR.
Bill definitely has the worst of it for the moment.
Still has the worst of it. A6 deuce. Very dry board. Fletcher checks it over to him.
Liking that ace at all.
So we can see only 3 outs for Will on the top right of screen. Does check back. That doesn't improve him. Fletcher may consider going for thin value from a hand like 7s, 6-7 suited. Looks like that's what he decides. 175k, and it doesn't get anything from Will. Will does just fold, but that's now a huge lead for Fletcher. Back up to around that 2.9 million mark.
The Will sitting on around 24 big blinds now. Fletcher now the 2-to-1 chip advantage.
Yeah, Fletcher has opened this right back up. Back to where he was probably about 2 hours ago in this heads-up battle. Looks like he is going to keep limping given how short Will is. But we'll just check back with 10-7 suited. Bit of a stronger hand for Fletcher to limp this time. Didn't expect him to see the King 9. And looks like he is going to flop top pair here. It's pretty disguised.
Yeah, not much here for Will though.
Looks like he is just going to bet one big blind. I don't think Will is going to be doing anything here. Can't really do anything with his hand. Does just fold. So we see Fletcher now over the 3 million mark. Will dwindling down to near 20 bigs.
I do believe this is the first time Fletcher has actually crossed that 3 million chip mark. It has been the chip leader the majority of this heads up, but Will has kept it pretty close for the most part. Drawing down to about 20 big blinds now, just above.
It has been a very back and forth battle.
Same as us.
Will now. Quick look up at the clock. King 5-0.
Just ticked up.
So Will now with his 15 bigs.
This hand definitely can jam for 15 bigs.
Can it? Thought it's a
With
little
a big
bit
blind
wide.
ante.
You would know better than I would.
With a full big blind ante, we can definitely be jamming the king.
Looks like he is going to get jammed on. Going to fold. Down to 1.1 mil now. Fletcher definitely has Will on the ropes. Will with less than 15 bigs.
Alright, you're over the Pony Shop 300. Finish your current hand, please. You are going on a 15-minute break.
Fletcher in a commanding spot here.
The tournament, if you wish to forfeit your stack, please let the DLO of the TV know.
Shout out Sane Ruggles in the chat, cheering on Fletch as well. There's been quite a lot of supporters for Fletch, and he looks like he's on the verge of taking this one down.
Come on, Fletch. It's coming, don't worry. 9.
Looks like it's all in a call. Will has him dominated though.
Very standard jam
King
here
10
for
versus
the
King
13
9.
blinds. With a great shape to get back in this. Will can hold here, but back to even.
Jack.
Nothing so far.
9.
3 on the turn.
Some chop outs.
Drop it out.
Oh,
And that's one of them.
that's
Again, another chop in a scenario like this. Fletcher's chopped twice when behind in all-in situations.
Yeah,
Will
we
is
saw
going
earlier.
to keep down at that 13 big blind mark.
Needed that.
Will with the King Jack against the King 6 earlier for the entire tournament. Fletcher was able to find the chop on from the river. He does very similar here to prevent Will from getting back to even. We're going to be sitting on that, it was about 14 big blind mark. He's going to have to find another spot.
And there have been
40k,
pretty
80k, these
big run
blinds
out.
are huge now. We've only got about 50 big blinds in play at this point. This definitely could go a little while longer. We're definitely nearing the pointy end.
See Will here. Around 12 bigs with Jack 9-0. He's probably wondering whether or not he's going to run this.
Definitely can.
Give me fucking 2. Will calls 8.
It will
Looks
work
like
this
he is
time
going
as well.
to limp. I think Fletcher's just going to check it back. We're going to see a flop here. Neither player
We're still out in
connected with
front
flop.
of Jack High.
Fletcher probably has to think that a lot of Will's hands that have a queen in them are probably just going to be jamming pre, so he's basically only worried about a 4 or a 5. He may even just try and lead and take this pot right now. Decides against it, doesn't check. Will might have the same idea. Looks like that is what he's thinking. Checks back to a turn. Interesting turn card. Fletcher an open ender. If he does bet this, it will work. We'll take the pot down. Fletcher does have 8 high, so probably feels that this may be his only chance to win the pot. And that's what he does. He bets 175k, gets the job done.
Yeah,
Will
good
now
call
sub
from
a
Will.
milli, sub 1 million. The first time he's been below 1 million chips since the start of the day's play. Just 12 big blinds in a pretty rough spot. All of you guys down at Southport watching this, there is a rake-free satellite happening. Yes, you heard that right. Rake-free, $90 entry at 430. 10 seat guaranteed. 1 seat for every $600 in the prize pool. Get down there if you want to play a satellite into the main event. Definitely fantastic value. As we continue on here. Fletcher deciding against an open with 7-3-0. Back over 1 million.
1.5 bigs. Gonna be looking for a hand.
Will now on the button. Does jam. Fletcher with King 5 probably won't find the call. He might think it's close.
Yeah, it definitely is
He's
close,
in
but
pretty rough shape.
imagine we'll see him laying this one down.
1,030,000.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to risk 10 bigs because it would get Will all the way back into it. Oh, he does call King 5-0 against Ace Deuce.
End it.
Yeah, I
It's
think
gonna
if
be
we
it, guys.
check the calculator, this one
Go on the
probably
king,
will be a
king.
call, but the question is if Will is jamming correctly. And if he's jamming too tight, this King 5 definitely
this
hand.
down, I want you to
Oh,
do this.
Fletcher doesn't think so. Decides to
Alright,
run
here we
it.
go. We're going to see all 5.
Hit.
9,
Great
6,
start
8.
for
No
Will.
help for other guys. Queen on the turn.
There we go.
And an 8 on the river. Will is going to find the full double.
Go 3-1.
And all of a sudden,
We are back neck and neck. Exactly the
once
same
again.
chip stack for both of these guys. This battle continues.
Well, now about 26 big blinds effective. This is as deep as it can be for the rest of the
We're
tournament.
back to even.
Now, 26 big blinds effective. It doesn't take a whole lot to get all the chips in.
Yeah, these guys have shared the lead many times. Now it is entirely squared up. Will with a huge double.
Now, we're at the point where we cannot afford to blink.
I think chips are
The
probably
rest
going
of
to
this
start
tournament.
flying, yeah.
Yeah, it can literally be any hand. Any hand could be the last.
Fletcher with the Jack Deuce limps in. Will checks back to 6-5. Off to a flop we go. Gutter for both these guys. An 8 would be a disaster for Will. Fletcher going to C-bet at it. Will doesn't peel off the gutter for 1 big blind. Interesting. So just like that, Fletcher back in the lead. As we can see a rail building on both sides once again. Everybody wants to see this one go down to the wire. Will on the button here. He's going to limp in. Fletcher though with a6. I think he's going to raise this one up. He may even be considering just jamming for 25 bigs. Looks like he's going to click it to 160. So it looks like he's going to call the raise, sorry. So clubs for both these guys, and that is all Fletcher. Flopping trips. Or just has it back to a flush draw. It's a very, very good board for the pre-flop raiser though. Will recognises that. He's going to fire out a C-bet. 90k. Fletcher has done some raising in spots like this, but he also has set the trap a few times, so I wouldn't hate seeing him just call here. Don't want to fold out any of Will's bluffs too quickly. Looks like he tends to agree. He does just call. Off to a turn we go. 580 in the middle. Jack of clubs. This could be a bit of a disaster for Will. There have been 3 different occasions where both of these guys have had the same suit and there's been a flush draw on board for them. It hasn't come to fruition any time though. Fletcher does check it over. Will double checks his card, sees that he does have the flush draw, checks it back. Deuce on the river, so Will does make a pair. Interestingly, when Fletcher calls the raise on the flop, I don't really think there's any hands that get to the river that a deuce is going to be ahead of. It's going to be hands like Jack 10-0, Jack 9-0. Maybe the only thing would be like a King 5. It's just King high on the river that deuce is ahead of. There's going to be so many hands that Will's going to be behind in this spot. I wonder if Fletcher is going to go back to his overbet that he's used a few times, like 650k. Looks like he's giving it some thought. Yep, there it is. 750k and a snap fold from Will. And Fletcher is extending his lead back at the 2.5 mil again.
Yeah, just I don't think Will has enough blues.
Just a step back in. Fletcher in the lead once again.
Yep, Will down to 21 bigs. So we can see the crowd is getting bigger and bigger. This guy's realizing that it's getting pretty shallow on that table.
That is
Not to maneuver at all.
Only about 50 bigs in play. And like I said, any hand could be the last.
Fletcher not going to open this one up.
All dealers for the poker shop 300, please return at your table. Dealers for the poker shop 300, please receive at your table.
This heads up is dragging on a bit at this point. It's been going for 3 hours.
And no one wants to give an inch.
Nah, nobody wants to let it go. Will now. Thinking about what he's going to do here. Decides on a raise up to 160k. Fletcher with King Jack definitely has a hand that he can just run it with. It'll be interesting to see what he decides to do here.
King Jack definitely hand you can go either way. You are dominating a lot of Will's opens, so it can be handy to take it post flop and try and stack off with your top pairs against the dominated hands, but at the same time you are going to have to play the hand out of position. King Jack's a hand that you can just make an easy jam with and probably just take this down. But wow, what a flop here for Fletcher. He's caught top pair, second up flush draw, an absolute monster for heads up. Will, second pair and a weaker flush draw.
Check on the flop.
Will trying to keep control of the size of this pot.
Fletcher may stab at this turn. He's been betting half pot a little bit on turns like this. interesting to see if that's what he decides to do here. Looks like he's getting a better quarter, 130k. Oh, a third, sorry, 130k. Will is going to find a quick call. Queen on the river, so Fletcher's still in the lead. Really trying to figure out what size would be best here. Ignore the pot size, guys. It's a little bit out of whack at the moment. There's more like 660k in the middle.
All the players, return to your seats, please, for the Poker Shop 300. Your tournament is going to restart.
Thinking this one through. Looks like he goes for roughly half pot. 360k.
Will with a pair and a club. Pure bluff catcher, but yeah, heads up. Definitely got to.
Alrighty, players and dealers for the Poker
Bluff
Shop 300.
catches sometimes.
Recommencing at
Think through whether this is the time to go for it or not.
Big blind ante, please. That's
Decides against it, does just fold, but it puts himself down below that 20 big blind mark. There's 19 bigs remaining.
That live chip count is going to be just very slightly out. Be about 100k less in Will stack. On there, we'll see if we can get that fixed up right away.
So march on. Probably going to see some jamming from Fletcher start happening here. Will being less than 20 big blinds. $7-5 once again for Will. Fletcher raising it up to 160. Will defend this one. And he does. Off to a flop we go. Wow. That's a pretty good flop for Will.
Yeah, Will definitely be enjoying that.
Absolute nuts.
Fletcher to c-bet, and he is going to. Just 1/4 pot.
Just bet 100k. Definitely like a call here from Will, that's what he does. He does have the 7 of clubs as well. Another 3, doesn't really change anything. You see Will loses to some boats now.
Will no longer with the nuts, but that's not really going to change the way that he plays this hand, I don't think. He still intends to get that 1.3 million chips in the middle.
That does change things. That changes things quite a lot, so if Fletcher wanted to try and run a bluff here, this could be one of those spots where his overbet would actually work really well. Will though, reaching for chips.
He's going to go for some
Buys out a
value
bet himself. Fletcher hasn't changed his posture at all though. Now he has, lays it down. Will going to pick that one up. Very nice river bet. Doesn't give Fletcher the opportunity to try and bluff him off it. Yeah, these run outs, Jamie, they are pretty sick. You can see Dipper, a bit of a fan favourite here at APT, giving Will some love on the rail.
Come on, Will. Come on.
So just getting a quick colour up.
Jason and Arn in the Facebook chat calling for Will to win this with the 7-2. You saw him run a 4-bet bluff earlier with the 10 deuce suited. Very satisfying to watch.
We had a couple of good clashes. We did, yeah.
Well, now looks like he's going to be putting chips in here.
Take me out.
In the form of a raise up to 160. Fletcher with Jack 6 suited, definitely think he's going to be at least calling here. No, he's raising. 480k.
Bit awkward off with stack size with an offsuit ace like this. Really giving it some thought.
He may even lean towards a 4-bet jam. Sides against it, does fold. Fletcher going to pick up another nice pot, extending his lead once again.
So can I just get a county pinks mill? 9? Thanks, mate.
Fletcher now. Just limps again. Checks back to King 7. Off we go. Once again to a flop.
Decent hand for each of these guys. Neither going to
Neither of
connect
them
though.
improve. That Jack 4 deuce board keeps coming back to haunt Fletcher a little bit.
Yeah.
Fletcher does bet 80k. But with the King of Spades, decides on a call.
King high, reasonable chance of being the best hand.
Beat Jack though. Fletcher's probably thinking whether or not it's worth betting again. Decides against it. Seven river. Will does take the lead. Or stay in the lead, sorry, with a pair of sevens. Decides in a bit of 3/4 on this river.
Seven's going to give him the confidence to value bet his hand.
Half pot on this river. And Fletcher hasn't folded yet.
Talk about it
I've seen
after.
him make some very thin calls with king high. This time he's got queen high and he's weighing it up. He doesn't beat a 4, he doesn't beat a deuce. He beats hands like 5-6, 5-3, 6-3. Have to think that all of these draws may be check raising at some frequency. He's obviously dead to a jack. Seven of spades is unblocked. But you have to think that Will probably raises his flush draws on the flop as well. If Will was calling king highs on the flop like this, then this call doesn't become very good. Hands like the one Will has, king 6-0, king 5-0, king 3-0. All of these hands would have just checked pre-flop, they wouldn't have raised. Probably get rid of some of the suited king X that probably raised pre, like king 8 suited, king 9 suited. Nice fold. Does decide on the right decision.
Fletcher's gotten himself into trouble with a couple of spots just like that, but this time he thinks better of it. That gap's still pretty small, but this can be over at any moment. Less than 25 big blinds effective.
He knows, mate. He knows.
It's a good battle.
It's so fun. Loving it. I felt like you were bluffing there. I really wanted to throw it off.
Taylor coming into the deal.
Yeah. I had Queen High as well.
Yet to see him on the felt. Let's see if he can speed proceedings up for us a little bit. As these guys have been battling for 3 hours now, so they've decided to bring in a dealer to try and get the job done. Action first on Will here. Looks like he is going to reach for a raise.
2 raises, 165.
Let's put it into 165.
2 raise, 165.
Fletcher with the 850.
6 call.
It's in the call. Off to a flop we go. 410 in the middle.
6 check.
Fletcher out flops on this occasion.
2 check.
Quick check.
Heads up.
Definitely a flop.
Check.
Could have put some donk leads, but
Will
we get
takes a lead on the turn though.
huge turn card here for Will.
6 check.
Check from Fletcher once again.
In the grind, your buns are up. 400,
Will's going to want to start betting, probably half pot here.
That's all players in
So he
dealers.
made 150,
400, 800, 800 big blind.
A little over a third. I don't think Fletcher's ever going to be folding versus delay C-bet. Proves me right here. Looks like he's reaching for chips to put in the call. Off to a river we
6
go.
calls.
All of a sudden, there's 710k in this pot. And that is an 8. Fletcher makes 2 pair on the river.
Brutal.
A huge river for Fletcher.
Yeah, this is really bad news here for Will. He's still got a very strong hand. So of course
the way
he'll go for
Will's-
value.
Yeah, given the way Will's been playing so far, I wouldn't be surprised to see him take a half pot bet on this river, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 350 to 400. And I think he is going to get check jammed on.
375.
So that's what he decides on, exactly splitting the difference, 375. Fletcher now.
Fletcher with a monster hand. This could be it.
Asks for a count. He has to think that Will probably would have gone a little bit more polar with a hand like 6-7. All of his pairs probably bet the flop, so he doesn't really have King 5 or King 4. This is just a clear jam to get a call from a king. Or maybe he's thinking about a slightly smaller raise. Oh
6
wow,
raise.
this is basically a click.
925,000.
Clicks it up to 825. 925, and yeah, Will doesn't like this at all. There's a pretty gross spot. He's got to try and think of what hands Fletcher checks twice, then check raises river.
Now we have seen quite a lot of check raising in this heads-up match so far. The thing is, they've not been river check raises.
Yeah.
I believe this is the first river check raise that we've actually seen from memory.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. But,
Typically
there's
river
been a lot of
check raises, they're just so strong. Like it's so rare that you come across a river check raise that's weak, whereas a bluff needs to be pretty sick, and I don't know whether or not that's going through Will's head. It's a pretty tough spot. Fletcher has
these
played
things
this really sneakily.
tend to mean business, and I mean, the way it's played out, it's kind of hard to put him on a whole lot of value hands too. The thing is, this 8-5 river 2 pair is a bit disguised. Definitely makes perfect sense, but you would think that some of the other value hands maybe play differently on other streets.
Yeah, I don't know about that though, because hands like Ace-3 and 6-3 probably just play exactly the same way.
Good call.
You kind of want to let Will blast, and Will does put in the call, and he's going to see the very, very unlucky bad news. Fletcher now has all of the chips. Will has fallen down to almost 600k. Could be nearing a conclusion here in this event. Fletcher just one all in away from taking this one down. Rail
Will's going to have
leans
to
over
rely
for
on the
support.
pass here. have to pick something up, and it's going to have to hold.
8, 9, 20.
Yeah, Will well and truly on the rails, sorry.
Nah, you got a bet.
It's just 6 big blinds in his stack now. Pretty big mountain to climb to try and bring this one back. He had 2 opportunities to close this one out, and unfortunately the cards didn't fall his way on the river. A chop both times. And now he's going to have to win it all in to get back into this one. Fletcher with an absolutely dominant stranglehold in this tournament.
Small blind, thanks, Fletcher.
Fletcher Smith as the GOAT is going to be cheering in the Twitch chat, seeing how this one's going.
All in. Good luck.
Come on, the queen.
Come on, baby.
Queen.
Hard to
Well,
jack
call,
off.
this could be it. Queen Jack for Fletcher, A6 for Will.
He got
Will has
There's
ace
a
five.
flip, 50-50 fake flip. Let's see how it goes.
So action went
Fletcher needs to
jam.
find a queen or a jack to win
Yeah,
this
two
one.
calls.
This heads up's been going for 3 hours.
Good luck, players.
Queen. Hit it.
Don't need a win.
Royal flush.
Taylor is going to put all 5 cards out.
Oh! Give him the ace now! Give him the ace! Give it to him! Give him the ace! Oh, here it comes. Get it. Get it. Ace. Oh!
Let's go, ban that. Can't ban
Here we
that.
go.
To win this tournament.
Here we go. Hit.
The river card. 7, so Will's going to find a double.
No!
Not over just yet. The crowd goes wild.
Well,
Back up to 15 bigs.
Nah, you'll get it. You'll get it.
What a battle.
Winning that flip there keeps him alive.
Stack's still very shallow. We could be seeing a lot more of that.
I don't even want
It
to
does. Find the much needed double.
fuck that. I don't want to win that one.
It's a big hit after
Too
that.
much time.
Incorrect river call. Instantly gets himself back in the game the next
What did
hand.
you, do you know how much you had? 425?
He's able to complete the recovery.
80-80. And we are off again. Three, two.
This time Will's going to be first to act.
Two raise all in.
Does just pile 10-8
Six
suited.
folds.
No call this time from Fletcher though.
Gives himself a float.
Back up to 16 bigs.
Back to hearts. Ace dead, queen dead. So many aces dead.
Alright, lads, come on. I want to get Richard Ryan. Nah. Enough's enough. Dude.
Yeah, I know. Just come for stuff.
Here we go again.
All in.
Fletcher now.
All in, folds. Two raise all in.
Does just pile. Quick fold from
Eight
Will.
raise, six raise all in.
Chips
Two
are
folds.
flying now.
I just leave that out.
Be over at any moment. The pads on the screen are incorrect, guys. There was a deal made about 3 hours ago. 29k for both these guys. This heads-up battle has been for 6,000, along with the 20k, the 12k Dracakis ring and a $1,250 entry into the vault. Will now.
Two raise all in.
Does jam. Fletcher
Six folds.
decides against the call. We're going to keep going.
No, he's got like 80.
Thank you for the kind words, good Sir Trez.
Yeah. Sorry, no, you're right. I fucking counted the blues with a 1 mil. I counted the 1 mil, that's right. Long day. Yeah, no, I miscounted the blues. I thought that was mil. All in. Six raise all in.
Let's go.
Two folds.
Fletcher jamming again. No call from Will though.
These guys going for it here.
Yeah, these guys are taking turns jamming.
We really need like the trophy for the house.
trophy in that ring right there, front and
fair.
center. These guys are playing for.
2 raise all in.
Will does jam.
Let's
6
go.
cold.
Fletcher with the call. Has him dominated.
Hold
King 8
it.
versus King
Eight.
6.
Hold it.
Shoes on the
Oh,
other
eight.
Will
No,
is
let's go.
spot
Let's
twice,
go. 8.
8 on the flop.
Finish him off.
where he's had the advantage.
Hey,
On the
Vic.
top. This time he's
Eight
all in
plays
for
in
tournament
the
lives
window.
on the line,
Eight
but he's on the
coming.
wrong
Good
end.
luck, please.
Fletch has him dominated.
Down the
Needs
eight.
to fade a
Vic.
3-outer or a chop. Blows this thing out.
Oh, cold. Oh, come on.
King in the window. Turn card. Another
Oh,
4. So
three.
there are some chop outs again.
Low card.
Don't tell
This time, though,
Go!
a winner. Fletcher Smith takes out the Dracakis Players Championships, taking home $35,000, the $12,000 Dracakis diamond ring, and the entry to the vault. Israel is absolutely stoked. There with Cooper Felton, we also shipped the Goliath. This crew is absolutely running over this series at the moment. And after a 3-hour heads-up battle, he takes it down. Will taking second place after a deal, taking home $29,000. This has been an incredible battle, guys. What do you think, Corey?
I mean, it was great fun to watch. These guys put on a show. Epic back and forth. Thrilled to have been here. Thank you everyone for tuning in, sweating the action with us. It's been quite the day of poker. Still got a few days still ahead.
It was a really back and forth heads up battle. I think the lead changed something like 8 times between these two over the course of the 3 hours that they were playing. But don't forget, guys, we are going to be continuing coverage tomorrow. Make sure you follow APT Live on Facebook. Follow LCA Poker on Twitch. If we go live for coverage later on this afternoon, you won't want to miss it. So we're going to be bringing you coverage of the grind tomorrow. We're going to be bringing you coverage of the main event on Sunday. Once again, congratulations to Fletcher Smith taking this one down. My name is Jordan Bromley, joined as always by Corey Van Jarsveld. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you guys back here tomorrow.
See you, team.